Chapter 474. It was as if all the factions had received the news. The shops on both sides of the street and the small stalls on the side of the road all closed when it got dark. As night fell, not a single person could be seen on the streets of Yunyu City. It was eerily silent, and the atmosphere was so heavy that it made people's hearts feel heavy. This continued until the streets were surrounded by groups of soldiers. Group after group of soldiers trotted toward the Feng Manor. The sound of their chaotic footsteps could be heard on the streets, and it was very clear in the night. In the shadows, the people sent by the various factions and clans who had heard the news saw the soldiers and quickly sent word back to their clans. The glorious Sun Country was in chaos. The glorious Sun Country was in chaos. Tonight, Yunyu City was destined to not be peaceful. It was destined to be a bloody scene. Who would win and who would lose? Even if they did not see the result, they could guess the result. The Mu Rong family's most outstanding child, the third prince, had already left Yunyu City and was nowhere to be found. The other children of the Mu Rong family did not amount to anything. Aside from elders of the imperial family who were in closed-door cultivation, the only person left in the Mu Rong family was Murong Bo. Now, it was said that he had contracted a strange illness. His cultivation had dissipated, and his appearance had aged. It had only been a few days since he had fallen ill. The Mu Rong family's luck had run out. Now, they had mobilized all of Yunyu City's soldiers to attack the Feng Manor. According to the news, Murong Bo suspected that his strange illness was caused by the Feng Manor. Thus, he wanted to capture the Feng Manor's eldest young miss and the unconscious Feng Xiao to force them to hand over the antidote. However, when they heard this, they felt that it was inconceivable. The Feng Manor's loyalty was unparalleled in the entire glorious Sun Country. How could the Feng Manor's people go and poison Murong Bo? If this was true, then Murong Bo must have done something against the Feng Manor. Otherwise, why would the Feng Manor do such a thing? Moreover, Feng Xiao was currently unconscious, and old Master Feng's whereabouts were unknown. The Feng Manor only had the eldest young miss supporting it. How could she possibly act against Murong Bo? Quite a few people felt that Murong Bo's suspicions were because he was too ill. Otherwise, who would mobilize the entire city's military forces to attack the Feng Manor despite knowing that the Feng Manor had a strong guard? Wasn't this the same as throwing an egg against a rock? The people from the various families and factions also headed towards the Feng Manor. They did not plan on getting involved. They just wanted to see the scene and confirm their guesses. What was different from the outside was that inside the Feng Manor, everything was normal. Feng Xiao was in secluded cultivation and had yet to come out. Everything in the Feng Manor was managed by Feng Jiu. As for the Feng Manor and the manor, they had already been sent to guard every corner of the Feng Manor after hearing the news. This time, they did not stand guard outside. They only stood guard inside the Feng Manor, making preparations for battle. At this time, Feng Jiu was wiping his dagger in the courtyard. Lung Shuang and Lung Hua were standing behind him. At this time, a few puffs came from outside. Hearing this sound, the three people in the courtyard could not help but raise the corners of their lips. They could not help but smile. I could hear this vulgar sound from far away. I thought that you two would hide in your rooms and not come out. Feng Jiu raised his eyes and looked. His gaze did not land on a Yama Lord in front of him. Instead, it landed on the two people behind him with awkward expressions. Chapter 475. Looking at the awkwardness on their faces, as well as their tense posture, Lung Shuang felt very relieved. Her master was right when he said that a bottle of medicine could relieve any anger. She didn't know what the medicine was for, but looking at their current state, it was indeed better than giving them a beating. The Yama Lord glanced at the two people behind her and frowned. Go and stand outside the courtyard. She meant that she was disgusted. Well, how could she not be disgusted when the two people beside her were farting all the way here? Master, please help us put in a good word with the ghost doctor and ask for an antidote. Look at the two of us, it's really unsightly. Hui Lang said awkwardly. Just as he finished speaking, there was another pft. He had just released one, and Ing Yi had released two as well. The Yama Lord's handsome face darkened. Sigh, there's no other way. There's no antidote. Feng Jiuxiao squinted as he put away the dagger in his hand and said, "This medicine won't kill you, and it won't hurt or itch. At most, you'll have to let it go for 3 days and 3 nights. That's good. It'll help you get rid of your bad breath." She chuckled. "You don't have to thank me. I won't take your money." Hearing her say that there was no antidote, Grey Wolf and immediately withered. Their faces were pale, and they lowered their heads. They felt that they could not hold it in anymore. The two of them hurriedly skipped out. When they came out of the courtyard, several people in the courtyard heard a louder and louder sound coming from outside. The Yama Lord ignored them and looked at Fengjiu. "Do you need my help tonight?" She remembered that she liked to handle things herself and didn't like him to interfere. That was why she came over to ask. After all, she didn't know how much hidden power the glorious Sun Emperor had and whether she could handle it. "There's no need. I've already arranged everything. There won't be any accidents. That Morone Bo is only a cripple now. As for the people under him, Master is useless. I don't believe that they will still be loyal to him." Tonight, she wanted Morone Bo to know that after provoking the Feng family and provoking her, she would not let him off so easily. He would pay a painful price for his stupidity. No matter who it was, no one could change his fate. Seeing the natural radiance between her brows, as if she had a card up her sleeve, he nodded. This monarch understands. This monarch will not interfere. As his deep and magnetic voice fell, he took a deep look at her and said, "However, no matter what, if you need my help in the future, you must tell me. I will always be your strong backer." He stretched out his hand and handed over a token. Hearing this, Fengjiu's eyes flashed and her heart skipped a beat. Looking at the serious man in front of her, she didn't know what to say. She shifted her gaze and looked at the token in his hand. The 2 words, Yanling, were very conspicuous. "This is the token of your Yanling." She didn't take it and just looked at him. A token that could be taken out from his hand was probably not an ordinary token. Chapter 476. That wouldn't be too good, right? She opened her mouth. She was a bit afraid to accept a power that was spread all over the place for her to use. "Take it." The Yama Lord stuffed the tablet into her hand and turned to leave, saying, "After taking care of this matter, I'll find you for a drink." Hearing this, the corners of Fengjiu's mouth twitched. Looking at the red ears of the man leaving, she could not help but reveal a smile. This pretentious and arrogant man, she had already gotten drunk once. How could there be a second time? Let's go. Let's go and see what our monarch has become." She put away the token and walked out. Behind her, Lung Shuang and Lung Hua looked at each other and faintly smiled. They also followed behind her and walked out. Tonight, aside from Feng Xiao, who was in closed-door cultivation, as well as the 8 middle-aged Feng guards protecting Feng Xiao, everyone else was preparing to fight against Morone Bo. They were all ready and waiting for orders. They were only waiting for Fengjiu's orders. "Master," Luo Yu and the others were guarding the gate. Without Fengjiu's orders, they did not open the gate. At this time, seeing her walk over, they all respectfully saluted and called out. Fengjiu glanced at them and pushed off the ground with the tip of her foot. Gathering her energy, she leapt into the air. Her red figure flew through the night like a swan. With a spin, her dazzling figure landed on top of the Feng Manor's gate. Luo Yu and the others raised their heads and saw their master wearing dazzling red clothes. She stood on top of the gate with her hands behind her back. Her red clothes and black hair fluttered in the wind. Her entire body emitted an unbridled and arrogant aura. Even if millions of soldiers were to come, she would still destroy them all. Seeing this, their hearts also began to tremble. They all gathered their energy and jumped, landing on either side of her. The 4 golden core cultivators had appeared at some unknown time. The 4 of them stood not far away, facing the incoming army. With their hands behind their backs, they looked at the soldiers who had quickly arrived and surrounded the Feng Manor. A murderous aura emanated from their bodies, and the pressure of a golden core cultivator seemed to faintly be released. They were only waiting for Fengjiu's order before taking action to exterminate the people below. When the soldiers below, as well as the people from the families hidden in the shadows, saw the figures standing on top of the Feng Manor's gate, their gazes narrowed. Compared to the countless soldiers, the people from the Feng Manor were far too lacking. However, in terms of strength, not to mention the Feng family's eldest young miss and the others, just the 4 golden core cultivators were enough to sweep through everything. The people from the Feng Manor had appeared, but what about Murongbo? They had heard that his appearance had greatly changed after he fell ill. What exactly had he become? Just as they were secretly pondering this, an imperial carriage carried by 8 martial great masters flew over and steadily landed 50 meters away from the Feng Manor's gate. Surrounding the imperial carriage, aside from his 8 trusted martial great masters, there were also 10 or so black-clothed guards protecting it. The imperial carriage was partially covered by a thin veil. Even the surrounding people could not clearly see what Murongbo had become. But the more it was like this, the more curious the people from the family clans were. What exactly had Murongbo become? Was that why he did not dare come out to meet people? Just how serious was it for him to make such an irrational decision in this sort of situation? Our Lord has graced our Feng Manor with your presence. Your presence has truly brought light to our humble Feng Manor. If we do not open the gates to welcome you, we truly cannot express the excitement in our hearts. Chapter 477. Seeing the imposing auras of the Phoenix Guards, who exuded an iron-blooded fighting spirit, the soldiers' pupils shrank. Their eyes were filled with fear. In terms of soldiers, the Phoenix Guards were without a doubt the number one. Each one of them could fight against 10 or even 100. They had followed the Feng family's master onto the battlefield to kill enemies. The Phoenix Guards were the sharpest blade in the Feng Manor, and they were also the sharpest blade in the country of Glorious Sunday. If it was outside, they would cheer for the sharpest blade, but inside, when the sharpest blade faced them, other than respect, there was also fear. Fear rose from the bottom of their hearts. This was because they were not a match for the sharpest blade. Even if they had far more people, when everyone knew that the result of fighting was death, fear would occupy their hearts and devour their fighting spirit, making it impossible for them to continue fighting. What the soldiers saw was different. When the family heads saw the Phoenix Guards, their pupils shrank. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. How long had it been? Why had their auras and auras changed? It was as if every one of them had advanced in rank. The aura of profound chi on their bodies had become much stronger. This aura of profound chi gathered together, and the fighting spirit they emitted became even fiercer. But how could they all advance in rank? It was clearly an impossible matter, but it was right in front of them. Wasn't this too inconceivable? Seeing the Phoenix Guards appear, all the soldiers unconsciously retreated. Murongbo's eyes were gloomy and crazy. His hands tightly gripped the sides of the imperial carriage, and he angrily glared at the red figure standing at the top of the Feng Manor's gate. Feng Chinga, don't think that I don't know that you poisoned me. Hand over the antidote. Otherwise, I will raise your Feng Manor to the ground tonight. When the old and hoarse voice came out, the people from the family clans could not help but be startled. Was his illness that serious? That voice did not have the slightest trace of profound chi. It was as if he was a normal old man, and it was the kind of old man whose life was at its end. So that was the case. No wonder he would make such an irrational order. Regardless of whether he did it or not, the only outcome waiting for him was death. Since that was the case, why not take a gamble? Perhaps from his point of view, as long as he forced the Feng Manor to hand over the antidote, he would be able to live. However, why did he believe that it was the Feng Manor that harmed him? Just as he was thinking about it, he heard a clear and somewhat lazy voice in the night. My lord, my Feng family has been loyal for generations. How can you slander us like this? You said that I was the one who harmed you, but do I have a reason to harm you? Reason? Ha ha. Feng Chinga, you already knew that I sent people to ambush and assassinate Feng Xiao, right? That's why you poisoned me and wanted to torture me to death. That was right. I personally led people to ambush and kill your father. It's a pity that I didn't manage to kill him at that time and even let him hang on to his life. However, now that he's alive, it's no different from being dead. What's the point of being an unconscious cripple? Chapter 478. Everyone widened their eyes and looked at Murongbo, who seemed to have gone mad with disbelief. No one would have thought that he, who was on the verge of going mad, would actually say such words. After all, even if it was really him who had led people to ambush Feng Xiao, he still couldn't say this in front of so many people. Not only would he lose the support of the people, it would also make them feel bitterly disappointed. Sure enough, when the soldiers heard what he said, they all became restless. The entire scene became a bit chaotic. As for Murongbo, it was as if he did not care. Yes, he did not care because he was neither human nor ghost. All that was left was madness. After being provoked by Feng Jiu's words, he said everything. In his mind, there was only the antidote. Aside from the antidote, there was a strong desire to destroy the Feng Manor and raze the Feng Manor to the ground. In his eyes, the reason he had ended up like this was because the Feng Manor was powerful and bullied its master. However, he never thought that the Feng Manor would never bully its master despite being powerful. In fact, they had always protected the country of Glorious Sun and had always protected the Murong family. It was because he did not have the heart to allow others to harm the people who were loyal to him that he ended up in this situation. When Feng Jiu heard him say that, the corners of his lips curled up slightly and a faint smile appeared on his face. The drug that she had Hui Lang give him, aside from making him age, would also make him lose his rationality and fear and become impulsive. Even if she wanted to take care of him, overthrow his country, and destroy his dynasty, she wanted everyone to know that it was this Murong Bo who wanted to kill the Feng Manor. It was he, Murong Bo, who had forced the Feng Manor to rebel. Based on the Feng Manor's reputation for being loyal, she believed that after destroying Murong Bo's kingdom, her father could easily take over and become the ruler of the country of Glorious Sun. That's right. She had always had this idea in mind. Ever since Murong Bo acted once again, she had this idea. She originally wanted to bring her father and grandfather to another country, but she thought about it. She was still young. If she stayed by their side in another country, she would be able to protect them. However, if she left to explore and train, she was worried that they would be suppressed by various forces in a new place. Moreover, the Feng family had lived here for generations. Although Yao Ri was a small country, her grandfather and father were born and raised here. No matter what, there was still affection. Her grandfather said that there was no news yet. If they left, her grandfather might not be able to find them in the future. Therefore, she had the intention of pushing her father to the throne. Only when her father ascends to the throne and becomes the new ruler of the Glorious Sun Empire would he not have to go out with her. He would not have to go out with her and experience dangers with her. Moreover, he could wait here for her grandfather to return. She thought about it again and felt that no matter where she went, there was no better decision than to turn the country of Glorious Sun into her Feng family. With her strength and the strength of the Feng family, her father could definitely sit firmly on the throne of the country of Glorious Sun. Although it was a small 9th grade country now, their country would definitely obtain a higher ranking in the future. Chapter 479. My Feng family has been loyal for generations and has protected this glorious country. It's just a pity that the ruler is muddle-headed and tyrannical, willfully killing loyal people. Murongbo, since you are forcing us step by step, then do not blame my Feng Manor for rebelling against your Murong family. Today, I will pull down your Murong family's position as the imperial family. If all of the soldiers here put down their weapons and pledge allegiance to my Feng family, you will all be spared from death. Otherwise, I will make sure that all of your million soldiers will die here. Pledge allegiance to the Feng family, and you will all be spared from death. Pledge allegiance to the Feng family, and you will all be spared from death. Pledge allegiance to the Feng family, and you will all be spared from death. Feng Jiu's voice was low and powerful. It echoed through the air and entered everyone's ears. It shook everyone's already shaky hearts. Based on the Feng Manor's fighting strength and the powerful guards, they had no chance of victory. Adding on the Feng Manor's words and the Feng family's eldest young miss saying that they would submit, Everyone fell into deep thought. One by one, they dropped the weapons in their hands and knelt on one knee. "We are willing to pledge allegiance to the Feng family." With this voice, another group of soldiers threw down their weapons and knelt. "We are also willing to pledge allegiance to the Feng family." As wave after wave of voices rang out, Murong Bo, who was in the imperial chariot, could no longer sit still. He lifted the gauze curtain and stood up, glaring angrily at the soldiers kneeling around him. His old and hoarse voice trembled as he angrily scolded. You all have big guts. Guards! Guards! Kill them all for me. Kill them all." It would have been better if he did not say this. Once he said this, the soldiers that were originally hesitant all threw down their weapons and knelt in front of the Feng manor. "We are also willing to pledge allegiance to the Feng family and pledge our loyalty to the Feng family." PFT. Anger attacked his heart, and he coughed up a mouthful of blood. His entire body fell back into the imperial carriage. His chest violently heaved up and down. His eyes stared fixedly at the soldiers kneeling around him, as well as the red figure standing in front of the Feng Manor's gates. "Feng! Qing! Go! Kill her for me! Kill her! Cough, cough, cough!" He pointed angrily at Feng Jiu and ordered the martial arts grandmasters beside him to kill Feng Qinga. The martial arts grandmasters were helpless. Even though they knew that they were no match for Murong Bo, they had no choice but to step forward. They had all signed a contract with the heavens and earth. If they betrayed Murong Bo, their only outcome would be death. However, just as the 8 martial arts grandmasters charged towards Feng Jiu, the 4 golden elixir stage cultivators instantly attacked. In a few breaths of time, the 8 martial arts grandmasters were all killed on the spot. The corpses of the 8 martial great masters lay on the ground. The smell of blood permeated the air, causing the entire place to become deathly silent. It was especially so for the various clans and forces who were watching from afar. All of them were dumbfounded. With just a few words, he had made the soldiers put down their weapons and surrender. This was too inconceivable. They originally thought that no matter what, a fight would break out. However, from the perspective of the Feng Manor's experts, dealing with these people would not be a problem. They never thought that there would be no need for them to do anything. One by one, they surrendered to the Feng family. The Feng family's eldest young miss has pulled down Murong Bo. Who was she trying to push onto the throne? A family head muttered, his heart feeling a bit complicated. A country could not go a day without a ruler. With the Murong family being pulled down, who would have the ability to firmly sit on the throne? Chapter 480. After all, Feng Xiao was still unconscious, so she was the only one left. Of course, if she did not sit there, perhaps someone from the Feng family's branch family would be pushed to the throne. Thinking about it, everyone felt that it was not too likely. None of the Feng family's branch family members had the ability to sit in the throne. Even if the Feng family was supporting her from behind, if she did not have the ability to handle matters, how could the throne be so easy to sit in? However, it was at this time that a large dark cloud suddenly appeared in the night sky, covering the Feng manor. There was a faint flash of lightning, and a rumbling sound came from the cloud, shocking everyone below into suddenly raising their heads. What is going on? Is it going to snow or thunder? Some people spoke with strange expressions, while others stared at the cloud that covered the Feng manor. Their eyes were filled with shock. "Ha ha! Feng Qinga, your Feng manor is bullying the master. Even the heavens can't bear to see it. Ha ha! Strike! Strike them to death! Strike them to death!" Murong Bo wildly laughed, but his voice was too old and powerless. It sounded very ear-piercing. After hearing Murong Bo's words, some of the people who already had strange expressions turned their gazes to the clouds above the Feng manor, thinking to themselves, this shouldn't really be as Murong Bo said. The Feng manor shouldn't have done something that would incur the wrath of the heavens and cause lightning to strike, right? Just as they were thinking, a bolt of lightning flashed across the night sky, and a bolt of heavenly lightning struck the Feng manor. The sound was so loud that even the ground began to shake. At this time, Even the phone guards raised their heads in shock. They were a little confused. Why did this bolt of lightning strike their Feng manor? Only Fengjiu's eyes lit up when she saw the bolt of lightning. A look of joy quickly appeared on her face. She looked at the second bolt of heavenly lightning that struck a certain part of the manor with a loud boom. The smile on her lips gradually deepened. When the 4 golden core cultivators saw the surging aura in the sky and the heavenly lightning striking the mansion, their eyes flashed with surprise. Then they only smiled. It came faster than they expected, and from the looks of it, it should be a large success. Unlike cultivators, Xian martial artists could only attract heavenly lightning when they advanced from martial great master to martial emperor. After enduring 3 bolts of heavenly lightning, a martial great master would successfully advance to martial emperor. Currently, the only person in the Feng manor who was advancing was the head of the family, Feng Xiao. Boom! When the 3rd bolt of lightning struck, the dark clouds in the sky suddenly scattered and a ray of light appeared in the night sky. This ray of light formed 7 colors that gradually spread out and almost covered the entire Yinhua city. The originally dark sky was as bright as day in this 7-colored light. The 7 colors complemented each other and shrouded the entire Yinhua city. As the light fell from the sky like rain, everyone in the city was shocked and ran out to see. Feng Manor. Heavens, I can actually see this kind of scene. Good fortune descending from the heavens. That must be someone with a high position and the heavens' favor. Only someone with good fortune can receive such good fortune from the heavens. Too unbelievable. This is the first time this old man has seen good fortune descend from the heavens. Chapter 481. Even Murongbo, whose life force had almost dried up, recovered some of his vitality under this multicolored light. He stared blankly at the starry night sky and muttered, "How is this possible? How can this be? Who is it? Who else in the Feng Manor is advancing? To be able to benefit all of Cloud Moon City's citizens." The citizens of the city all rushed towards the Feng Manor because they had all seen that the place with the most multicolored light was where the Feng Manor was located. Especially when they ran over and saw the soldiers kneeling on the ground, as well as the multicolored light in the sky above the Feng Manor's head. Each and every one of them began to jump in joy. It's the Feng Manor. It's the light from the Feng Manor. The surrounding families and factions were all shocked. They all stared blankly at the sky above the Feng Manor. Their hearts were filled with shock. Even the heavens were helping the Feng Manor. After tonight, even if the Feng family's eldest young miss wanted to become the ruler of the glorious Sun Country, probably no one would oppose it. However, at this moment, an angry roar came from the Feng Manor. That voice carried a thunderous anger. It was clearly heard by everyone outside. "What a good Morombo! You really think my Feng family has no one?" Hiss! Hiss! It's Feng Xiao. It's Feng Xiao's voice. Hiss! How? How is this possible? Wasn't he unconscious? Heavens! Could it be that the person advancing is Feng Xiao? Cries of shock came from the mouths of the family heads and the surrounding cultivators. All of them stared with wide eyes in disbelief at the Feng Manor. When they saw a figure holding a spear rushing out of the manor, they all froze. "Morombo, you treacherous person. My Feng family has retreated time and time again. We didn't even bother about you trying to kill me. Now you dare to bully my Feng family. Bully my daughter. You really deserve to die." A deafening voice that contained the powerful pressure of a martial emperor came out of Feng Zhao's mouth. Every word in that voice carried a fierce aura, sonorous, powerful, and piercingly cold. It was the iron-blooded aura that belonged to him, the fierce and unyielding martial spirit that belonged to him as a martial general. His voice was oppressive, and each word was like a blade, like numerous sharp blades that pierced towards Murongbo's heart. Murongbo, who had recovered a trace of vitality due to the multicolored light and stood up, was so shocked that his eyes widened when he heard Feng Zhao's furious voice. Now that he saw Feng Xiao holding a long spear and rushing over, He waved the long spear in his hand and heavily slammed it on the ground. He angrily pointed at Murongbo, causing the blood in his chest to churn and a mouthful of his heart's blood to suddenly spurt out. Pooh! His body and mind suffered a blow, and his mind suffered a heavy blow. He only felt his vision darken. He could not believe it, nor did he want to believe it, that Feng Xiao, who he thought was seriously injured and unconscious, was actually standing in front of him with a majestic aura. Furthermore, he, who was originally in the early stages of martial great master, had now broken through to become a martial king. How is this possible? How is this possible? Feng Xiao? This time, he did not fall to the ground because he tightly held onto the imperial carriage and supported his body. His shocked gaze was filled with disbelief and hatred as he stared at the majestic figure standing in front of the Feng Manor's gates. Chapter 482. It's really Feng Xiao. He's fine. He even became a martial emperor. How did he become a martial emperor at such a young age? Other than shock, the crowd also felt an indescribable shock. Some people had cultivated for their entire lives and still could not break through to martial arts grandmaster. Even in U.S. City's Old Master Gung and Feng Manor's Old Master Feng were only at the peak of martial arts grandmaster after cultivating for their entire lives. However, Feng Xiao was originally only a beginner martial arts grandmaster. Even if he cultivated for another 50 years, it would be very difficult for him to reach martial emperor. But now he did it. Not only did he not fall into a coma, but he also became the first martial emperor of the country of Glorious Sun. A martial emperor less than 100 years old. This was simply unbelievable, Dai. Feng Xiao snorted heavily. The long spear in his hand shook again. Die so that you can destroy my Feng family? Die so that you can bully my daughter? My Feng family has protected the country of Glorious Sun for generations and is loyal to your Murong family. But in the end, you actually try to kill me? What evil thing did I, Feng Xiao, do that you have to kill me? He questioned in a loud voice. Every sentence was harsh. He glared at Feng Xiao fiercely. I didn't come out of the hidden residence and handed over the imperial power. I didn't want to fuss over the fact that you tried to kill me. But what about you? You, Murongbo, actually want my daughter to be someone else's concubine. You want to take over my Feng family's power. You want to recruit my Feng family's Feng guards. You want to destroy the century-old Feng family. Now, if I don't stand up, how can I face my Feng family's ancestors? Murongbo, you've lost your power, and your destiny is over. Killing you will dirty the long spear in my hand. Kill yourself. Other than you, I, Feng Xiao, will say that as long as they abide by the rules and don't go against my Feng family, I won't hurt them at all. Hearing these words, everyone sighed in their hearts. This Feng Xiao still had benevolence and righteousness in his heart. If it was someone else today, they would definitely kill the Murongbo and then kill his descendants to prevent them from taking revenge in the future. However, Feng Xiao might have let them go because of their friendship with the previous generation of the Murong family. Doing this was already extremely benevolent. Perhaps it was because he had truly realized that he had lost his momentum, but at this moment, Murongbo's eyes were lifeless. He stared blankly at all of the soldiers kneeling on the ground and not getting up. Facing the Feng Manor, he looked at all of the family factions standing nearby and watching. He looked at all of the citizens pointing at him and discussing him. It was as if he was the only one left in this world. He was so lonely and so sorrowful. Who could be blamed for the fact that he was deserted by his friends and family? The entire Murong dynasty was buried. Who was to blame? Ah ha ha ha. I, Murongbo, made a mistake, and then I made a mistake. Ha. The sorrowful laughter seemed to have used up the last bit of his heart's blood. He raised his head and beat his chest as he laughed. Blood came out of his mouth, and he staggered back 2 steps. His entire body collapsed on the imperial carriage. His eyes stared at the sky, and he took his last breath. The ruler of a dynasty tragically fell in this situation where he was deserted by his friends and family. The surroundings suddenly quieted down. Everyone watched as Murong Bo took his last breath, but he was unable to close his eyes that stared at the sky. At this moment, everyone's hearts were indescribably complicated and they were all silent. Chapter 483. Fengjiu walked forward slowly and came to her father's side. Her clear voice was filled with mystic energy. From now on, my father, Feng Xiao, the head of the Feng family, will take over everything in the Glorious Sun Nation and become the new king of the Glorious Sun Nation. The Glorious Sun Nation will be changed to the Phoenix Dynasty. 3 days later, you will enter the East Palace. Her voice echoed clearly in the night, clearly entering everyone's ears. At the same time, everyone's hearts trembled, and the soldiers and commoners all excitedly knelt down to pay their respects. Greetings to the king. Long live the king. Greetings to the princess. Long live the princess. The Phoenix Dynasty will shine with the sun and the moon for thousands of generations. The deafening cheers echoed in the sky above Yunus City for a long time. The people from the families and forces all looked on in shock, their hearts filled with emotions. The Feng family was the home of the people. No one dared to say anything about it. From tonight onwards, the Glorious Sun Nation had ended, and a brand new Phoenix Dynasty had appeared. Looking at the scene in front of him, Feng Xiao was confused. He looked at his daughter in shock. How did he become the king after coming out? Also, the Glorious Sun Nation had changed to the Phoenix Dynasty. Seeing her father's confused and shocked gaze, Fengjiu smiled and said, "Father, don't you think that it's best for you to be the king of the Phoenix Dynasty? A family can't be without a king, and a country can't be without a king. Although this is a small 9th-tier country, once the news of what happened in Yunus City spreads, it will definitely attract the attention of other countries. Only when you become the king of this country can you continue to protect the citizens and the country." But he didn't want to be the king. There are no buts. I know that father will definitely be a good ruler, and I also know that father has the ability to control and protect our country. Speaking to this point, she smiled, and her eyes overflowed with dazzling light and spirit. Father is now a martial emperor expert. As far as I know, none of the rulers of the surrounding small 9th-grade countries have father's cultivation. I think that once the news spreads and they know that father has become the ruler, they will only send gifts to congratulate him. They will definitely not dare to invade our Phoenix Dynasty's territory. After you take over for a while, you can participate in the country evaluation. I believe that the Phoenix Dynasty's rank will rise even further. Her voice paused, and her eyes sparkled. Father, the Phoenix Dynasty belongs to our family. Let's protect it together. Let's strengthen it. Perhaps he was influenced by her words, or perhaps he was attracted by the future she had envisioned. But Feng Zhao's sharp eyes, and he said in a deep voice, "Let's protect it together. This will always be our home." Luo Yu and the others were sent to the palace to deal with the aftermath, while Feng Xiao stayed behind to reorganize the troops. Just as he had said earlier, once Murong Bo died, he would not pursue the matter of the other members of the Murong family. However, he would chase them out of Yunus City and let them settle down in other cities and towns. Fengjiu didn't take over the matters outside anymore. After handing the matters over to them, she went back to her residence first. Tonight's matter was much smoother than she had expected. It was easily resolved without using a single soldier. Chapter 484. You handled the matter very beautifully. The Yama Lord poured a cup of wine and looked at her as he spoke. Fengjiu walked in and sat down at the table. "It's already quite late. Are you not going back to rest? Didn't this lord say it already? I'll wait for you to come back and drink." He raised the wine cup in his hand, and a playful smile appeared on his lips. "Wine, this monarch has enough." Hearing this, the corners of her mouth twitched, and she smiled. "No need. I've recently stopped drinking." What a joke. What would happen if she did it again? Especially if she drank with this man. It was too dangerous. Scared? He raised an eyebrow and was a bit surprised. "Hey, Yama Lord, I'm tired enough tonight. How about this? Let's talk another day." "Look, My father has just taken over this country. There are many things he needs to take care of. Recently, I need to help him take care of some things. I will definitely be very busy. So you see, the Yama Lord glanced at her and said in a low and magnetic voice, "Since the Feng Manners crisis has passed, shouldn't you take care of the matter between the two of us?" What matter between the two of us? She feigned ignorance and asked, "Your father is very satisfied with this lord in all aspects." Speaking of this, he was quite proud because he had easily taken care of his future father-in-law. Now, as long as she nodded, this matter would be settled. However, getting this woman to nod was not easy. Is that so? If he's satisfied, then that's good. You are our Feng family's benefactor. If he's not satisfied with you, could it be that he doesn't like you? She smiled awkwardly and did not want to continue chatting. Thus, she stood up. "I'm a bit tired tonight. That's all for now. I'm going to sleep first. I still need to get up early tomorrow. That's all." She waved her hand. She had only taken 2 steps when she heard the low and magnetic voice come from behind her. Hearing his shameless words, she tripped and almost fell. "Do you need this lord to warm your bed?" This lord is very good at this. He was in a good mood as he watched her run for her life into the room without even looking back. She closed the door with a bang. Seeing this, his lips curled into a smile. Although there was still some distance between the two of them, the wonderful feeling produced by this distance made him feel happy at all times. Recalling what Hui Lang had said about a good woman being afraid of a pestering man, it seemed that pestering her was useful. However, it seemed that pestering her was not enough to deal with her. Should he think about using his manly charm to seduce her? Thinking of this, his deep black eyes leaped with eagerness. He suddenly felt that his idea was very good. In the room, Feng Jiu poured himself a glass of water and drank it. His eyes darted around and his brows furrowed. He felt that this could not go on. This Yama Lord, she had to think of a way to get rid of him. But what could she do to get rid of him? After drinking a glass of water, she didn't go to bed. Instead, she flashed into space. Chapter 485. The monarchs of various small countries all sent people to find out the truth of the news. When they found out that it wasn't a rumor, and that Feng Xiao would ascend the throne 3 days later, they all ordered people to prepare generous gifts and send them to the Phoenix dynasty. Due to the distance and the lack of a spaceship, it was impossible to deliver the congratulatory gifts within 3 days. The reason they sent someone to deliver the gifts was just to express their attitude. As for the visit and congratulation, they naturally had to choose another day to do so. 3 days later, Feng Xiao ascended the throne as monarch. Almost the entire country was celebrating, and all the citizens were celebrating. Because Feng Xiao was originally a loyal and righteous person, and had also protected this country for many years, now that he ascended the throne, the citizens naturally cheered endlessly. And in a city, Murong Yixian, who was wearing a crescent moon robe, looked at the yellow notice posted on the notice board, and couldn't help but be slightly startled. He left and didn't care about their matters, and didn't want to find out what happened to his father in the end. However, on the road these few days, no matter where he was under the notice board, the news spread extremely quickly. Even if he didn't deliberately ask around, he would still know what happened that night. He couldn't find fault with the Feng family's actions. After all, his father wasn't killed by them. Moreover, he died, but the other members of the Murong family weren't affected. This kind of result was already better than what he expected. He naturally wouldn't resent the Feng family for taking away their Murong family's kingdom and forcing his father to death. If it wasn't for his father's actions that day, how would the Murong family end up like this? If it was anyone else, they would definitely eliminate the weeds and leave no survivors for the Murong family. However, the Feng family didn't, and for this he was very grateful. The Phoenix dynasty, this was a country that belonged to the Feng family. Actually, this should have been their families. If it wasn't for the Feng family protecting it for generations, this land would have already been swallowed by other small countries. The Feng family had sacrificed so much, and they deserved everything they had now. After becoming the princess of the Phoenix dynasty, I wonder what plans she has in the future. He softly muttered, still worried about her. Perhaps it was only because he couldn't get it that he kept thinking about it. At the same time, in Yunhua City, Feng Xiao moved into the imperial palace. The original Feng Manor was left to Feng Jiao and became her private residence. In the imperial palace, there was naturally a palace left for her. However, compared to the imperial palace, she seemed to prefer living in the Feng Manor. It was also because of this that it was difficult for Feng Xiao to see her. After all, when he wanted to see his daughter after dealing with state affairs, he was told that his daughter was not in the palace. Thinking about it made him depressed. Unlike the other rulers, even if Feng Xiao became the ruler of the Phoenix dynasty, his harem was still empty. Think about it. He had never taken in a single woman in the Feng Manor before. Naturally, it was impossible for him to take in a bunch of women in the harem after becoming the ruler. Moreover, in his heart, there had always been only his daughter's mother. Similar to Feng Xiao was the Yama Lord. After Feng Xiao became the ruler of the Eastern Palace, the Yama Lord could not find Feng Jiao's figure. Every time he went to the Feng Manor to find her, the people in the manor would say that their master had gone to the palace. When he went to the palace, Feng Xiao would say that his daughter was in the Feng Manor. This caused him to not be able to find her after running around twice. He didn't even see Feng Jiao appear. If he didn't know that it was impossible for her to leave before Feng Xiao stabilized the Phoenix dynasty, he would really suspect that she had sneaked away again. Chapter 486. Recently, she had been cultivating and realized that she was unable to break through after reaching the peak of the martial Grandmaster realm. She wanted to enter the martial ancestor realm, but she felt as if she was missing something. She didn't use any pills on herself. Instead, she started to discuss with Hua Feng when she couldn't break through. I feel that I'm missing an opportunity. Do you think we should find some time to go out for a walk? Her eyes turned and her expression brightened. It seemed that she had been thinking about this for a long time. Yes, she couldn't get rid of the Yama Lord, but she could at least get rid of herself, right? Moreover, her father's matters were more or less settled. As long as there were no other countries to invade and the Phoenix Guards were protecting him, his position as the ruler of the country could not be more stable. That man is not an ordinary man. Do you think you can escape from him? The white and chubby Fire Phoenix, who was only wearing a dudu, glanced at her with disdain. It was chewing on the ginseng that Feng Jiao had gathered for it. Of course, it was not as old as the 1,000-year-old ginseng. It liked to eat ginseng, as well as some fire-attribute spirit herbs and spirit fruits. However, those things were too rare in this place. Only a few hundred-year-old ginseng could satisfy its cravings. Even so, it had become white and chubby recently. Its exposed limbs were as white as lotus roots, tempting people to take a bite out of them. Being looked down upon by the little guy, Feng Jiao smiled embarrassedly. Then it raised its chin and said proudly, "Who told me to be so charming that even the Yama Lord couldn't resist it? AI. Actually, I didn't want to either." Seeing her act, the little Fire Phoenix rolled its eyes. It hugged the half-eaten ginseng and turned around, leaving her with its fleshy back and its chubby little butt. Seeing this, Feng Jiao happily reached out and poked its little butt. She asked with a smile, "Why do you like to wear a belly band recently? Look, your little butt is showing." "Oomph. It's good that my little bird is not showing," it said without turning its head, and waved at her in disdain. "Don't stay here all day and annoy me like a coward. Hurry up and get out. It's going to turn the sky upside down if I can't find you. Sigh. If I can't hide, then I'll just go out." She sighed softly. Then, she stood up and dusted off her clothes before flashing out of the space. "Coward." Little Fire Phoenix muttered and finished eating the ginseng. Then, it went to the place where the elixirs were placed. Outside, in the courtyard, Yinzhu, who couldn't find her, had been waiting for her in the courtyard. When Feng Jiao came out of the space, who was drinking tea in the courtyard, paused for a moment. His deep black eyes flashed with a dim light as he looked towards the room. Her aura had not been there before, but now it had suddenly appeared out of thin air. He was still wondering why he couldn't find her, but it turned out that she had a spatial treasure with her. No wonder. The door creaked open, and the figure appeared at the door. He looked at him and revealed a flattering smile. Hee, Yama Lord, why are you drinking tea in this courtyard? Do you need me to accompany you? Not hiding anymore? He raised an eyebrow, and his deep black eyes fell on her body, making her scalp tingle. Chapter 487. With just a glance, he could tell that there was a problem with her cultivation. He did not continue to harp on the previous topic and instead asked, "Have you reached a bottleneck in your cultivation?" Hearing this, Fengjiu's eyes lit up, and she quickly sat down opposite him. "Yes, my cultivation is at the peak of the martial grandmaster level, but I haven't been able to break through recently. I think I'm missing an opportunity, so I was wondering if I should go out for a walk." Hearing this, the Yama Lord glanced at her indifferently. "Are you trying to leave me behind to lie low for a while?" Of course not. I was just about to ask you, do you want to come along?" Her thoughts were exposed, so she smiled embarrassedly and quickly tried to salvage the situation. "Oof. If you want to invite me along, you have to see if I'm in the mood." The Yama Lord snorted coldly. He was obviously happy, but he still put on airs arrogantly. "I see. It's okay. I can do it myself." Her eyes were full of smiles as she looked at him with a cheerful expression. Hearing this and seeing her cheerful expression, the Yama Lord glared at her. "Who said I'm not going? Don't even think about leaving me behind." The corner of her mouth twitched. This arrogant and unreserved man. Why can't he be more reserved? Cough. The Yama Lord put a fist to his lips and coughed lightly. He looked at her and continued. "You can't reach the heavens in a single step in cultivation. In the past few months, your cultivation has improved by leaps and bounds. Many people can't keep up with your cultivation speed. However, this kind of cultivation is not good. You have to build a solid foundation for every rank. Otherwise, the higher your cultivation, the easier it is for you to collapse. Since you've already reached a bottleneck, take this opportunity to go out with me and train. Don't try to break through for the time being, otherwise it won't be of any help to your future cultivation. Don't take those advancement pills either. Piling up pills won't work either. Taking pills too often will make it easier for your cultivation to advance as you go further." Hearing this, Fengjiu nodded seriously, which was rare for her. "Yes, I understand." Then, she looked at him strangely and asked, "Yama Lord, are you really that free? You really don't need to go back to your house?" The Yama Lord's lips curled into an imperceptible smile. He glanced at her and asked, "What's wrong? Are you trying to inquire about my family background? If you want to ask, just ask. Why do you have to beat around the bush? If you ask, I will definitely tell you." There's no need. I'm just saying. She immediately retreated. She didn't want to know his background and family background. Knowing too much wouldn't do her any good. Seeing that she had instantly shrunk back like a tortoise, Lord Yama glared at her in exasperation. This cowardly woman. He had already made it so clear, yet she was still playing dumb. However, it didn't matter. He had plenty of time to waste with her. In the end, she would only be his woman. Thinking of this, his mood suddenly became better and the corner of his lips curled up. His handsome and resolute face was usually cold and tense, but now, because of this smile, the coldness on his face was softened. Fengjiu couldn't help but stare in a daze at this gentle expression. Chapter 488. What? Do you think this lord is a feast for your eyes again? He glanced at her and said coldly, "This lord's tofu isn't delicious. If you don't admit it after eating it, humph." How would I dare? She laughed and immediately put away her drooling expression and put on a serious face. "Yama Lord, then when do you think we should leave?" Seeing her putting on a serious face, he snorted. "You can let go of your father's place? As long as you can. This lord can leave with you at any time." Hearing this, she secretly rolled her eyes. "What do you mean he can leave with me at any time?" He said it as if it was something. However, she still had a fawning smile on her face and said, "I can let go. I've left 4 golden core cultivators here for my father, and with the Phoenix Guards guarding, the other small countries won't dare to invade. If the other small countries don't dare to invade, the people from the various forces in the Phoenix dynasty won't dare, and have no reason to do so. Besides, I know my father's abilities and methods. With his power and handling ability, he can naturally control the Phoenix dynasty, especially since we were born and raised in this place. We can't be more familiar with it. There's nothing to worry about. This was also what she thought after thinking about it. Her father was very safe here, and he could make full use of his abilities. Even if she left for a year or so, she would be at ease. Seeing this, the Yama Lord looked at her. If that's the case, then let's leave now. There's no need to be in such a hurry. I have to make some arrangements. She thought for a moment and said, 3 days. We'll leave in 3 days. I still have to enter the palace to tell my father about this. Enter the palace? This lord will accompany you. As he said this, he stood up. Hearing this, she glanced at him and asked, I'm going to the palace to say goodbye to my father. Why are you following me? Are you afraid that I'll sneak away again? Cough. The Yama Lord coughed, feeling a bit awkward, but he didn't show it on his face. His deep gaze moved from her face to the other side and said lightly, This lord also has to say goodbye. After all, he's an elder. All right, let's go together then. Her voice paused, and she hesitated for a moment. She looked at him and said, But when we go to my father's place, don't talk nonsense. What nonsense are you spouting? He was confused for a moment and glanced at her, but when he saw her winking at him, he instantly understood. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he looked up at the sky, speechlessly. Was this woman afraid that he would tell her about that night when she was drunk? You reminded me. If your father knew that the two of us had already reached that level, he would definitely be more at ease with you by my side. He said seriously, but a smile flashed through his deep black eyes, and the corners of his lips curled up in an imperceptible arc. Fengjiu was stunned when he saw him walk out with his hands behind his back. He quickly ran to catch up with him. Yama Lord, I realize that you've become even more handsome recently. Your manly charm is off the charts. Old people again? I'm wrong. You can't be considered an old man. At most, you're a charming uncle. Uncle, the Yama Lord snorted. This lord is only 25 years old this year. I'm only 9 years older than you. Then should I call you big brother? She asked carefully. Chapter 489. Fengjiu felt embarrassed. Did this person like to harp on this matter? Although she had taken advantage of him quite a bit that night, she did not actually pounce on him, did she? Also, who was the one that said that the alcohol was strong, then added that there was enough alcohol after hearing her say that she wouldn't cause trouble after drinking? It was clear that he was the one with bad intentions, and she had taken advantage of him. In truth, she felt that if she had not vomited all over him that night, the one that had been taken advantage of would have been her. That was why when she thought about it, she felt at ease. Who told him to have bad intentions in the first place? Leaving the courtyard, Huilang's shadow followed behind the two. Lung Shuang, who knew that Fengjiu was going to the palace, went to arrange for a carriage. After all, there was still some distance between here and the palace. Naturally, they could not walk. However, just as they left the Feng Manor's gates, they saw Guan Shilin walking towards them. Xiaojiu, I was just about to look for you. Seeing her, Guan Shilin broke into a smile. Seeing the Yama Lord to the side, he cupped his hands and greeted him. Brother, shouldn't you be at the black market right now? Why are you here? She walked towards him and asked. I have something to tell you. Do you have time right now? His gaze moved between Fengjiu and the Yama Lord. These two shouldn't be going out for a stroll, right? I was just about to go to the palace. I have something to tell father. Do you want to come? We can talk on the way. She gestured to the carriage to the side. Guan Shilin, who was about to nod, saw the Yama Lord glance at him from the corner of his eye. He then looked at the carriage and could not help but smile. So it's like that. Then I'll also go with you. I'll just ride a horse. You two can sit in the carriage. This carriage is very wide. The three of us won't be able to. As he spoke, he was interrupted. It's getting late. Let's talk on the way. As he spoke, the Yama Lord had already stepped into the carriage and entered. Seeing this, Guan Shilin quickly said, Xiaojiu, get in the carriage. It's the same if we talk in the palace. The Yama Lord's aura was not something a normal person could endure. If he dared to sit in the same carriage as them, he would probably be frozen to death by the Yama Lord's aura. All right, then we'll talk about it in the palace. She smiled and didn't force him. Only then did she get into the carriage. Bye. At this time, in the palace, Feng Xiao was sitting in front of a desk after finishing his work. At this moment, he did not have his usual majesty. In his hand, he held an amethyst white jade hairpin. He stroked the hairpin over and over again, as if he was caressing the person he loved. At this moment, his eyes were filled with longing, tenderness, and pain that had never appeared before. Wanrong, our daughter has grown up. Do you know? She's really outstanding. If he could be by our side, how good would that be? He murmured in a low voice with a hint of sobbing. Men don't cry easily, but at this moment, tears welled up in his eyes. After so many years, the memories that should not have been forgotten were sealed away. The person in his heart that should not have been forgotten was not remembered. He felt guilty, his heart ached, and his heart was filled with longing. Chapter 490. Father, I'm here. Feng Jiu's voice came from outside. When Feng Xiao, who was sitting in front of the desk, heard this, he quickly raised his sleeve to wipe the corners of his eyes. After adjusting his state of mind, he raised his head and saw that his daughter had already come in. Father? What's wrong? When Feng Jiu arrived in front of him and saw that his eyes were slightly red, he couldn't help but be a bit startled. When he saw the amethyst white jade hairpin in his hand, his eyes couldn't help but slightly move. It's nothing. He shook his head, not wanting to say more. It's nothing? Then what is this? She reached out and took the amethyst white jade hairpin from his hand, smiling as she looked at her nervous father. Xiaojiu, be careful, don't break it. He quickly stood up, afraid that she would accidentally break the amethyst white jade hairpin. Feng Jiu saw his nervous expression and slyly smiled. Father, this is Mother's, right? Are you secretly missing Yanqing here? As soon as her voice fell, she seemed to have discovered that she had no memory of her mother. In fact, no one in the manor had ever mentioned anything about her mother. AI. He sighed and sat down. Seeing this, Feng Jiu also stopped smiling and moved a chair to sit next to him. He handed the amethyst white jade hairpin back to him. Father, tell me about my mother. Is she still alive? I'm already 16 years old, but I've never heard you mention anything about my mother. Tell me about her. To be able to make her father not remarry for so many years and not have a single woman by his side, he must have loved her mother dearly. Only, she didn't know what kind of woman her mother was. To be able to make such an iron-willed man secretly hide here and look at her old things, feeling dejected and sad. Feng Xiao took the amethyst white jade hairpin and said, This amethyst white jade hairpin really is your mother's. Other than leaving you behind for father, she only left this hairpin. Father, since you love my mother so deeply, why haven't you mentioned her in all these years? What about my mother? Is she still alive? She asked again. Feng Xiao looked at the hairpin in his hand and said faintly, It's not that father doesn't want to mention her, but that father has forgotten her in the past. I don't know who she is, where she is, and where she is from. I only know that there's a woman in my heart, a woman that I always want to remember, but always can't remember. How could that be? She was slightly stunned. She couldn't remember? How could this be? Yes, I can't remember. I only remembered everything about your mother after I was ambushed by the Morong bow. Your mother was a kind and gentle beauty. She was the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. But I only remembered her after so many years. I really deserved to die. Looking at her father's face full of self-blame, guilt, and pain, her gaze sank. She asked, Did someone do something to father? Why would they do something to him? Could it be that her mother's identity was not ordinary? Your mother and I were together, but her family and father didn't allow it. Everyone was against it because she was so outstanding, so beautiful, and I was just a martial artist. I wasn't worthy of her, but she didn't care about anything. She abandoned everything just to be with me. I couldn't even give her a proper wedding. Chapter 491. Your mother's name is Shangwan Wanrong. I met her when I went out to practice. At that time, I received a mercenary mission and met her when she was picking herbs. The people who followed her were killed, and she herself was seriously injured. I took her to hide from place to place and evaded those assassins. You don't know, do you? Your mother was an alchemist, an extremely talented alchemist. Fengjiu listened quietly. She listened to her father talk in detail about how he met and fell in love with her mother. She listened to him talk about the hardships they went through during that time. She listened to him talk about how her mother was pregnant with her and had followed him back to the glorious Sun Country when they were found by her family. You were stopped by my mother's family? What happened after that? Her heart skipped a beat. Listening to her father's recollection, she seemed to be able to see the thrilling scene at that time. A noble family, a young miss who was running away from home. Moreover, she was pregnant with a child without the permission of her family's elders. The consequences of being caught by her family and her father were unimaginable. Her father wanted to kill me and you, who were about to be born. She threatened him with her life and said that if anything happened to me or the child, she would not live alone. Later, her father took a step back and allowed her to give birth to the child. He told me to leave with the child and never see her again. She was also captured and brought back. The reason why I can't remember her is because her father had placed a seal on my memories. He had sealed all the memories related to her. It was also at that time that the seal was broken by a freak combination of factors. All these years, although I can't remember your mother, I can't remember anything about her. However, I always knew that there was someone in my heart. Someone who shouldn't be forgotten, but was forgotten. If I hadn't broken the seal by a freak combination of factors, I really don't know if she would have been forgotten by me forever. Speaking to this point, his voice trembled slightly. Thinking about how he couldn't remember who his beloved was and how he couldn't remember anything about her, his heart couldn't help but tremble. Fengjiu's heavy eyes moved slightly. She asked, "Father, you still haven't told me, which country is mother from?" "She's the eldest daughter of the Shangwan family of the Qi-Tian Kingdom, a first-rate country in the eastern region." With that, Feng Xiao looked at her and said solemnly, "Xiaojiu, I know you're very outstanding, but a first-class powerful country is too high for a small ninth-class country like ours. There are countless experts there. Even a small family from a first-class powerful country can't compete with them. You should know that there are thousands of ninth-class small countries in the eastern region, and there are only 10 first-class powerful countries in the whole eastern region. Even 106 class countries like the Qingting Kingdom can't compare with them. You have to promise me that you'll hide this matter in your heart. You know that your mother is Shangwan Wanrong. You know where she came from, and you know that she's still alive. If the people in her family know that I've broken through the seal and remembered everything, then I'm afraid that what awaits us will be unhesitatingly strangling us. Because they don't allow people like us, who come from a small ninth-grade country, to taint the reputation of the aristocratic families of powerful countries. They don't allow people to know the relationship between us and the eldest daughter of the Shangwan family. Even more so, they don't allow their aristocrats to have any relationship with us. Chapter 492. Yes, she knew what to do. She knew that her mother was still alive and knew what kind of person her mother was. Then, she knew what she had to do. A faint light flashed through her smiling eyes as she comforted her father with a smile. She changed the topic and said, "Father, actually, I came here today because I have something to tell you." Feng Xiao composed himself and asked, "What is it?" "Recently, I have encountered a bottleneck in my cultivation and have been unable to break through. Then, Ling Mohan also told me not to rush to break through my cultivation. He said that what I lacked was an opportunity. So when I said that I wanted to go out and train, he said that he wanted to go with me and could even guide me. So, we came here today to tell you about this." Her voice paused, as if she had thought of something, and said, "Oh, that's right. When we came out, it was my brother who told me on the way that there was an opportunity for him to leave the black market. He said that there was a mercenary group for him to join. He thought that he would have to leave this place sooner or later, so he wanted to go out and gain experience before he could enter the academy to further his studies." Hearing this, Feng Xiao nodded. This is a good thing. Shilin's talent is not low. As long as he performs well, his future will be extraordinary. It is good that he has such an opportunity to join the mercenary team. Father agrees, but you and Mohan. He looked at her and saw her carefree look. He could not help but sigh. What are you thinking? I think he is really good. No matter if it is his ability or his character, he is outstanding. More importantly, Father can see that he is sincere towards you. Father, you don't have to worry about me. I will make my own decisions. Father, I don't know how long I'll be gone this time, but you don't have to worry. I'll take care of myself. If there's a chance, I'll take the opportunity to inquire about grandfather, so you don't have to worry about grandfather. As long as there's news, I'll send it back. When I'm not by your side, you have to take care of yourself and wait for us to come back. Wait for me when I am back. Hearing this, Feng Xiao smiled. He patted her hand gently and said, Okay. Father knows. You just have to take good care of yourself. Then, Father will not worry about you. I will leave the 4 golden essence adepts behind for Father to order around. In addition, I will also inform the Phoenix Guards. Luo Yu and the rest will also stay behind. Father, you can order them to do anything. I will take Lung Shuang away. Lung Hua will stay behind to take care of Father. You are not taking Luo Yu and the rest with you. He was a little surprised. He thought that she would bring Luo Yu and the rest with her for training. She smiled and said they will stay behind. They are familiar with the Phoenix Guard's movements. Moreover, there are 8 of them. It will be too troublesome to bring them along. Chapter 493. Lung Hua. She rolled her eyes and thought for a moment before nodding. That's fine too. He hasn't been anywhere before, so I'll bring him along this time. She looked at him with a smile and said, Father, you're the king now. If the palace is empty, you can't wait for me to come back and find me a bunch of colorful women. Hearing this, Feng Xiao was stunned for a moment. Then he laughed and scolded. You child, what nonsense are you saying? Is your father that kind of person? Hee, I know Father isn't like that, but there's no guarantee that those people below won't give you women. Feng Xiao couldn't listen to her anymore and immediately shook his head and stood up. All right. It won't be good if you continue talking. Didn't you say that your brother and Mohan are here? Where are they? Let's go take a look. They're at the pavilion on the rockery. I asked them to wait there. She smiled and held his hand as they walked out. In her heart, she was thinking that she had to tell Luo Yu and the others to not let anyone take advantage of this opportunity to stuff women into her father's hands. She still had plans to go and find her mother. The father and daughter pair arrived at the pavilion. Yama Lord and Guan Shilin, who were sitting and talking, stood up and greeted Feng Xiao. At his signal, they all sat down together. Godfather, I plan to join the mercenary group and go out for a while. I'll be leaving tomorrow, so I came over today to inform you. Guan Shilin spoke first. You're leaving tomorrow? So soon? Feng Xiao was a little surprised and asked, Have you arranged everything in the manor? You're going out on a long journey. Have you prepared everything? Yes, I've arranged everything in the manor. There aren't many people at home, so I'll just let the housekeeper look after the manor. Furthermore, it's next to the Feng Manor, so there shouldn't be any problems. I've already prepared everything for the trip. Feng Xiao nodded and said, That's good. You must be careful when you go out. If anything happens, send someone to bring back news. Hearing this, Guan Shilin grinned. I will. Uncle Feng, I'll be leaving with Xiao Jiao in 3 days. I'm here today to say goodbye. Ling Mohan said. In front of Feng Xiao, he had never put on the airs of a Yama Lord. He had always regarded himself as a junior. Xiao Jiao just told me. You guys too. You must be careful when you're outside. You can't be careless. Feng Xiao looked at him and said with a smile, With you by Xiao Jiao's side to guide her, I'll be very relieved. Father, you should rest assured that I'm outside by myself. When have you ever seen me being bullied by others? As Feng Jiao spoke, he took a sip of the tea on the table and picked up a piece of dessert to eat. He said casually, I've always been the one bullying others. If others want to bully me, it's difficult. I heard that you got drunk in the manor that day. You're a girl. Remember not to drink when you're outside. It's fine if you get drunk at home, but if you get drunk outside, who knows what will happen. As soon as Feng Xiao finished speaking, she saw that her daughter, who was eating pastries, seemed to choke on them. Her pretty face flushed red. Cough, cough, cough. Feng Jiu coughed a few times and quickly drank the tea. Only then did she feel better. Before she could catch her breath, she heard her father's voice. Chapter 494. Hearing Feng Jiu being reprimanded and seeing her choking on the pastries, Ling Mohan lowered his gaze and took a sip of tea, using the teacup to cover the overflowing smile at the corner of his mouth. Guan Shilin poured a cup of tea for Feng Jiu and said, "Drink more tea. Why did you choke on the pastries?" Feng Jiu was embarrassed, and her face was slightly red. She glared at the pretentious person and said, "I'm fine. I just accidentally choked." Then she said, "Father, I know I won't get drunk outside. If it wasn't for the person who tried to make her drunk, how could she have gotten drunk? She had a good tolerance for alcohol, okay? Father, I'll be staying in the palace for the next 2 days. I told you to move in earlier, but you didn't. Look, I haven't seen you all day." He shook his head and said, "Since you're going out, remember to ask Lung Shuang to prepare everything for you." Yes, 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 I know. I'll go see where Luo Yu and the others are and hand over some things." She stood up and said to Guan Shilin, "Brother, I'll send you off tomorrow." "It's okay. You do what you need to do. You don't have to send me off tomorrow." Guan Shilin waved his hand and stood up. "I won't stay any longer. I'll go back to the residence first." With that, he bid farewell to them and left. "Mohan, how about we play a few games of chess?" Feng Xiao looked at the Yama Lord opposite him and asked. Since he had asked, he naturally wouldn't refuse. Hence, the two of them got someone to set up the chessboard and started playing chess in the pavilion. As for the other side, Feng Jiu left first. After walking for a while, he couldn't help but pat his chest and sigh softly. "I didn't do anything wrong. Why am I so easily frightened?" Lung Shuang, who was following behind him, heard this, and a subtle smile appeared on his face. Hui Lang and the others said that Master is the Yama Lord's nemesis, but I think the Yama Lord is Master's nemesis. Hearing this, Feng Jiu turned around and smiled. "Lung Shuang, you're right. That guy is my nemesis. Nothing good happens when I meet him." Lung Shuang didn't reply and just followed quietly. Feng Jiu paused and said, "That's right. I plan to bring Lung Hua with me this time. I didn't see him just now. Go find out where he is and tell him to come with us." Hearing this, Lung Shuang's eyes lit up and his face couldn't help but overflow with joy. "Thank you, Master." He thanked her for giving her younger brother a chance to go out and see the world. "What's there to thank me for? Go. I'll go check on Luo Yu and the others and tell them to keep an eye on them." She waved her hand, indicating that she should leave first to find Lung Hua. "Yes." Lung Shuang responded gratefully and then went to find her younger brother to tell him the good news. When Feng Jiu found Luo Yu and the others, they were sparring with the Phoenix Guards in the martial arts field. Seeing this, she called them to the side and gave them some instructions. However, before she could reply, she heard Luo Yu exclaim in shock, "Ah, Master is going out again? You're not taking us?" "Master, even if you don't take all 8 of us, at least take me with you. I can accompany you and protect you." Chapter 495. "Master, we really want to go out with you to train. Please bring us along." When the others saw Luo Yu speak, they hurriedly chimed in. They really wanted to go out with her, especially after Luo Yu came back and told them about what happened when he went out with Master. They had been looking forward to it. Although they would encounter danger during the experiential learning, it was also an essential path of growth for cultivators. Especially when they were by Master's side, they would be able to understand her better. She could also give them some pointers outside, which would definitely be beneficial for them. However, Feng Jiu didn't plan to bring them along. Thus, she said, "The Phoenix dynasty isn't very peaceful right now, and my father has just ascended to the throne not too long ago. I can't stay here forever, but you guys can. Help me guard this place well, and there will be plenty of benefits for you guys in the future. When there is a chance in the future, I will let you guys go out with me, but not now." Hearing her say this, the few of them knew that there was no hope and didn't mention it again. After all, she didn't look like she was joking. Since it was their master's order, they could only obey. Thus, the 8 of them looked at each other and replied in a deep voice, "Yes. Master, don't worry. We will protect the emperor and Yinhua City well." Feng Jiu gave them some instructions and lectured the Feng Wei before walking towards her palace. At this time, Lung Shuang and Lung Hua were already waiting in the palace. When they saw her return, the 2 of them went up to welcome her. "Master," she replied, her gaze landing on the excited Lung Hua. She smiled and said, "Prepare well. This time, I will bring you out to train. Even if you don't have any cultivation, you can barely protect yourself with Taiji. If there is an opportunity, you might be able to cultivate." Hearing this, Lung Hua's eyes sparkled. He asked excitedly and happily, "Master, are you saying that I will also have the chance to cultivate? But I can't cultivate mystic energy, can I?" "You can't cultivate mystic energy, but when we go out, we can find a chance to test if you have the spiritual roots to cultivate. Then, won't you be able to cultivate?" She smiled and walked forward. When she entered the bedroom, she saw several trays on the table with more than 10 sets of red and white clothes on them. Lung Hua, who was excited by her words, followed closely behind. Seeing that she was looking at the clothes, he said, "A few days ago, a tailor came to the palace to help His Majesty make some clothes. At that time, His Majesty couldn't find His Majesty, so His Majesty ordered me to take a set of His Majesty's clothes and have them make 20 sets of different styles. I had them make 10 sets of men's clothing and 10 sets of women's clothing." Feng Jiu picked up a set and looked at it. He compared it to his body and smiled. "Well, not bad. They all look good. Just in time. I don't have to worry about not having enough clothes for this trip." She turned around to look at the 2 of them and said with a smile, "You can leave now. There's no need to wait on me here. Go back and make some preparations. All right, get someone to bring Lao Bai and Qiu here. We'll set off directly from the palace." "Yes." The 2 of them responded and left. 3 days later. Chapter 496. I want to bring Old Bai with me. I'll bring little Tun Yin with me too. Hey, look. Feng Jiu appeared in front of them, dressed in men's clothing. She stepped forward and lifted her chin slightly, indicating for the Yama Lord to look at Little Ball. Ever since she saw Little Ball transform into its original form and swallow the nascent soul, she rarely called it Little Ball. Instead, she called it Little Tun Yin. After all, the scene of its swallowing the nascent soul was too unforgettable for her. No matter how she looked at it, she felt that Little Ball was no longer suitable for it. Seeing her appear in men's clothing, the dazzling red clothes were still as eye-catching and flamboyant as before, but it was no longer a woman's dress, but a man's robe. Because she was dressed as a man, her entire person exuded a devilish charm and a free and easy aura. She was a living example of a noble young master. Her extremely exquisite and outstanding appearance, even though she was dressed as a man, made his eyes move slightly. Suddenly, he felt that the beggar's outfit suited her. Yes, it would be better if she smeared some mud or herbs on her face. That would be even better. Feng Jiu, who walked out, glanced at him and asked, "You're not planning to go out like this, are you?" The Yama Lord raised his eyebrows. "What else? Stick your uncle's beard on your face and change into a less eye-catching robe." She lifted her chin slightly, looking a little narcissistic. Her tone was light and cheerful as she said, "It's fine as long as I'm the good-looking one. Otherwise, it'll be too eye-catching if we walk together. Sigh, I don't think it'll be a good scene just thinking about it." Hearing her words, the Yama Lord was speechless. He glanced at her with a strange expression. "I think it'll be better if you change into a beggar's outfit and smear some dust on your face. Do you want to change too?" "How can that be?" Feng Jiu glared at him with her bright eyes. "I'm planning to go out and seduce a few beauties." When she said that, even she laughed. "Moreover, I feel that with my handsome face and elegant temperament, the moment I walk out of the door, the hearts of beautiful girls will definitely pound. So, don't ruin my good fortune. Hurry up and change out of those clothes and stick a big beard on your face. How nice would it be to look like an uncle? Lung Xuan's eyes softened as he looked at her with a faint smile on his face. Lung Hua, on the other hand, smiled happily as he watched his dazzling master torment the Yama Lord. Hui Lang and Kagawan, who were following behind the Yama Lord, looked at each other and quietly retreated outside. Fortunately, before their master went out, he had flipped through his clothes and picked out the jade belt and the color of his robe. Unexpectedly, the ghost doctor felt that he was too dazzling and handsome. She was afraid that he would steal her limelight, so she asked their master to change into an uncle's outfit. Well, although it would be more convenient for him to go out with his identity, their master had planned to show off his endless masculine charm along the way. He also planned to use his masculine charm to seduce the ghost doctor. But now, if he changed into an uncle's outfit, how could this idea be carried out? The two of them secretly glanced at their master and couldn't help but mourn for him. Needless to say, their master would definitely follow the ghost doctor's words and change into an uncle's outfit. Sure enough, just as the two of them were thinking about it, they heard their master's voice. "Then I'll change here. Come in and help me." As he spoke, he walked towards Feng Jiu's room. Chapter 497. Feng Jiu and the others did not leave on horseback or in a carriage. Instead, they left in a spaceship. Other than the Phoenix guards who were reluctant to part, the only person who saw them off was Feng Xiao, who was worried about them. The Feng family was now part of the Phoenix dynasty, and they were protected by powerful cultivators. Naturally, they were extraordinary. Even when the people in the city saw the spaceship flying out of the palace, they were only surprised and did not say anything. As for the spaceship, little Tun Yun and Lao Ba were lying outside. They looked at the clouds in the sky from time to time. Lung Hua had a happy smile on his face. He was as happy as a child who was going out to play with an adult. Other than the fear he felt when he first sat on the spaceship and looked down at the sky, there was only joy left on his face after he gradually got used to it. Unlike the others, he first familiarized himself with the spaceship inside and out. Then, he prepared tea and snacks for them so that they could drink tea, eat snacks, and chat on the spaceship to relax. Yama Lord, who was sitting outside, watched the spaceship fly forward. He glanced at Feng Jiu, who had been blinking her beautiful eyes ever since she boarded the spaceship. He took a sip of the tea that Lung Hua had brewed. "Tell me, what are you up to now?" Hee. Feng Jiu smiled embarrassedly, but her eyes were sparkling as she looked at him. "Uncle, with your status, you should be able to enter a third-class country, right? The stronger the country, the more proof of identity was needed to enter. A Jade Pass was not easy to get. You want to go to a third-class country? Which country are you going to? What's the reason?" He did not answer her directly. Instead, he asked. Hearing this, Feng Jiu sat up straight. The smile on her face disappeared. She said, "I have a clue. My grandfather should be in the third-class country, the Yin Kingdom. I don't want to go to the mountains or forests this time. I just want to go to the Yin Kingdom to ask for information." Ling Mohan glanced at her and said, "Don't you know how to be a pharmacist? Why don't you go to the Pharmacist Guild and get the badge of a medicine saint? With your talent in alchemy, you should have reached the level of an alchemy sage. With this identity, you can even freely enter a first or second-class country, let alone a third-class country." She frowned and said, "But I've seen the information. Only the pharmacists' guilds in third-class countries have the ability to take the medicine saint level examination. Those below third-class countries can only reach the medicine grandmaster level at most. Aren't you going to Dian? When the time comes, find a chance to get the medicine sage's badge back." She was secretly planning in her heart. Just her identity as a princess of the Phoenix dynasty was not enough to attract those people's attention. But if she could obtain a badge of astonishing strength in the field of medicine or alchemy, then it would be different. On the other hand, Feng Jiu, who had no idea what he was planning, was plotting in her heart. Her mother was in the first-class Qitian kingdom, and she was thinking of a way to get there. Since the medicine saint's badge was a form of identification that allowed one to travel freely between countries, She had to get her hands on it no matter what. The flying ship shuttled through the clouds steadily, carrying the thoughts and expectations of the few people on the ship as it headed towards the Yin Kingdom. At this moment, in a certain family in the Yin Kingdom, old Master Feng, who was in high spirits, had the wine gourd that Feng Jiao had given him hanging on his waist. He quietly slipped to the back wall and looked around. When he saw that there was no one around, he planned to climb the wall and sneak away. "Where are you going?" Chapter 498. However, what awaited him was not the hard ground, but a warm, soft, and fragrant embrace. Old Master Feng froze and didn't dare to move. His voice was even softer than a mosquito's as he stammered, "That's Su. Sushi, this doesn't look good. Let go of me and let me down." When the shadow guards saw this scene, the corners of their mouths twitched and they looked away. How could it look good? An old man being held in the arms of a beautiful woman who looked to be in her 20s. This scene was already unbearable. The woman was dressed in a simple but elegant dark green dress with a belt of the same color around her waist. Delicate tassels fell to the side of her waist, and her skirt fluttered in the breeze. Her ink-black hair was tied up, and her eyes were picturesque. She was gentle and beautiful. At this moment, her eyes were curved, and there was a smile in her limpid eyes. Looking at the person she was holding in her arms, her gentle voice had a trace of teasing. "Isn't this good? How could it be? I think it's quite good." Sensing his tension, she frowned and scolded. "You're really too much. You're not young anymore. Why are you still trying to climb the wall like a young boy? Fortunately, I caught you. If I didn't catch you, you would have fallen and broken your bones." Master Feng was so embarrassed that he wanted to find a place to hide. When he was caught, he covered his face with his sleeves and didn't dare to see anyone. But when he was held, he didn't dare to struggle or move. God knew that after living for so many years, the thing he was most afraid of wasn't his dead father, nor was it his deceased wife. It was this woman who had been waiting for him silently and didn't get married. She was born in the Great Yin Kingdom, a third-class country. She had an enviable family background. Her appearance and character were first class, but for him, she never married and waited silently for him. He felt guilty in his heart. Therefore, when he was kidnapped by her people this time, although he was angry, he could not vent his anger on her. Moreover, her brother was his sworn brother. This really gave him a headache. He was already an old man. Although she was younger than him by 10 years, in order to preserve her peak appearance, she had taken the face-establishing pill. Her appearance had never aged, and she looked like a young woman in her 20s. This old thing, how could he dare to covet her? Just thinking about it made him so embarrassed that he wanted to find a hole to hide in. Seeing that he was so embarrassed that he covered his face with his sleeve, Lin Sushi pursed her lips and smiled. Only then did she put him down. Who knew that when she landed, she saw him running back to his room. Seeing this, she couldn't help but stare at him and scold him in embarrassment. "Feng Sanyuan, do you think you can hide? Dodge, dodge, dodge. How many years has it been, and you still want to hide? Believe it or not, I'll directly do you tonight." Hearing this, Master Feng, who was about to step over the threshold, was so shocked that he fell to the ground. He directly used his head to knock open the door and rolled out. He turned around to look at the beautiful woman, whose eyes were filled with shame and anger. His face was deathly pale, and with a bang, he quickly closed the door. Then there was another banging sound, as if someone was using something in the room to block the door and windows. The secret guards who were in charge of keeping watch in the dark were so shocked by these fierce words that their jaws almost fell. They swallowed their saliva and looked at the elegant and gentle beauty. If they didn't hear it with their own ears, they wouldn't believe that such fierce words would come from her mouth. Chapter 499. "Ha ha!" A loud laugh rang out, and a man who looked to be in his 40s walked out. He wore simple black robes, and his usually dignified face could not help but reveal a smile at this moment. In particular, when his gaze landed on the elegantly dressed woman, there was a hint of helplessness in his eyes. "Sushi, you'll scare Sanyuan like this. The person who came was the head of the Lin family, Lin Buang. He was also Lin Su, Shi's older brother, and Old Master Feng's sworn brother. Although Lin Buang was older than Old Master Feng, his appearance had always been in peak condition. He looked like a man who had just entered middle age and didn't look old at all. As the head of the Lin family, his cultivation wasn't bad, and he had just entered the nascent soul realm. Big brother. She helplessly turned around and called out. Looking at the tightly shut door, she frowned with worry. Look, he's avoiding me like a mouse seeing a cat. It's as if I'm a wolf, tiger, or leopard. Am I really that scary? As she spoke, she couldn't help but touch her face. For the first time, she didn't have confidence in her appearance. She even thought, was it really the right choice for her to take the face-establishing pill to maintain her appearance? If she was as old as he was today, would he be able to accept her more easily? Looking at his little sister, Lin Buang's eyes were filled with pity. Their family of 4 brothers only had this one little sister. Not only did their parents dote on her like a treasure, but the 4 brothers also protected her from a young age. But they didn't expect that when he brought back the sworn brother he met outside, this girl would fall in love with him at first sight. But at that time, San Yuan was already married and his wife was already pregnant. At that time, everyone tried to persuade her and even gathered the portraits of all the outstanding unmarried young men in the city for her to choose. But this girl was stubborn. Seeing that she had decided on San Yuan, his family gathered together and discussed finding San Yuan. They didn't care that he was from a 9th-ranked country. They only hoped that he could treat Su Shi well and let him take Su Shi as his second wife, who knew that after this girl found out, she would directly reject this matter. Even now, he could still clearly remember that she had a serious expression at that time and said, "It's true that I, Lin Su Shi, fell in love with Feng San Yuan, but I don't want to be a bad woman who destroys a family. A relationship cannot tolerate a third party. Since he has already married his wife, then I will wait." Just the word wait had made her wait for a few decades. She watched from afar. Just as she said, she didn't destroy his family. She didn't let his wife know that there was a woman like her waiting foolishly. She watched him give birth to a child, watched him and his wife love each other, watched their child grow up, watched them have a granddaughter after decades of waiting. Her heart was tired and full of scars. Under the advice of her family, she went into seclusion to cultivate. She turned her longing into the motivation for her cultivation. She cultivated day and night, not listening to outside news and not thinking about that person. Until recently, when she came out of seclusion, she found out that his wife had passed away more than 10 years ago. Because of this, she sent people to kidnap him. Chapter 500. I know. Her brows relaxed, and she revealed a gentle smile. Now that I can see him by my side, I'm happy. Hearing this, Lin Buang looked at her with a strange expression. He coughed dryly and asked, "He's an old man now. Do you really like him? Although the two of you are only 10 years apart in age, your appearance has always remained the same. He's different. Why don't you think about it again?" Fine. Actually, he didn't understand what his sister liked about San Yuan. When he was young, he could still have a good appearance. But now he was already over 60 years old. How could she still take a fancy to an old man? Moreover, it wasn't what he wanted to say. It was because the difference in appearance between the two of them was too big. It was really awkward to look at. He also felt that San Yuan was so old, while Su Shi was still so young. All these years, even when he knew that his wife had passed away, he never told Su Shi. Who knew? Unexpectedly, Su Shi smiled and looked at Lin Buang. Big brother, he's always been San Yuan's older brother. He hasn't changed. Forget it. Do as you wish. In any case, you've already kidnapped him. I don't care anymore. He waved his hand and said. Suddenly, his expression froze. Look, after being disturbed by your matter, I almost forgot about the important matter. What important matter? She asked. I'll call San Yuan out. This matter is his Feng family's matter. Lin Buang smiled and walked towards the tightly shut door. He shouted, San Yuan, come out quickly. I have good news for you. Big brother, you can say whatever you want. I can hear you here. I won't go out. Old Master Feng, who was hiding inside, blocked the door. He drank some wine to calm himself down. His old face was red, and his hands and feet were trembling slightly. It seemed that he was really frightened. How could he not be frightened? He was already a pile of old bones. He really couldn't stand being frightened. Hearing his trembling voice, Lin Buoheng turned around and glared at his sister. Look at how frightened he was. Even his voice was trembling. Sushi was also angered by him, which was why she said those words. Now that she calmed down, she felt a bit embarrassed. Seeing that he was really frightened by her words, she didn't know what to do for a moment. She really didn't want to scare him. "Brother Sanyuan, come out. I was just joking," she said a bit embarrassedly. Inside, Elder Feng was sitting on the ground, blocking the door. He held the wine gourd in his arms and drank a few more mouthfuls. When he heard her words, he instinctively shook his head. "No, I won't go out even if you beat me to death." Seeing this, Sushi looked at her brother for help. "Go back first. I'll talk to him." Lin Buoheng smiled and waved for her to leave. "All right then." Helplessly, she could only agree. However, after thinking about it, she said worriedly, "But big brother, don't let brother Sanyuan leave. If he really leaves, he will definitely hide." I know. Lin Buoheng sighed in his heart. Seeing her leave, he shook his head and knocked on the door. "Sanyuan," Sushi left. "Open the door. I really have something to tell you. It's about your Feng family." Old Master Feng heard this and thought about the Feng family situation. He was also worried. He immediately asked, "She really left?" And she left. Lin Buoheng smiled in response. Hearing this, Old Master Feng moved away the chair and table that was blocking the door. He carefully opened the door a crack and poked his head out to take a look. After confirming that she was gone, he let out a sigh of relief. Chapter 501. Seeing him like this, Lin Buoheng shook his head and laughed. You don't know how lucky you are. What's wrong with Sushi? She actually makes you avoid her like she's a snake or a scorpion." Old Master Feng smiled bitterly. "Big brother, don't make fun of me. You know that Sushi is too good. I'm really not good enough for her. Also, I'm just an old man. How would I dare to think about that? Then what do you think we should do? Sushi isn't joking. She can wait for you for a few decades. She can wait forever. Do as you see fit. I can't help you with this." He walked in and saw that he had messed up the tables and chairs in the room. He couldn't help but shake his head and say, "Let's sit outside in the courtyard. Look at your place. What's wrong with it?" As he spoke, he turned around and walked out. He sat down at the stone table in the courtyard and ordered someone to prepare tea and bring it over. Old Master Feng followed him and sat opposite him. He quickly asked anxiously, "Big brother, you said you have news about my Feng family? What is it? How is my granddaughter now? Did that Murong Bo bully her when I wasn't around?" Ever since he was kidnapped, he had been worried about his family. Feng Xiao couldn't show his face, so everything was done by that girl. He didn't know if that Murong Bo would use any tricks to deal with her. Although she was outstanding, she was still young. How could she be a match for that Murong Bo? "Haha, your granddaughter isn't ordinary." Lin Buoheng chuckled and looked at him. "Do you know what happened in the country of Glorious Sun recently?" Seeing that he was nervous and couldn't hide the worry in his eyes, he didn't keep him in suspense. He said, "The country of Glorious Sun is gone. Murong Bo is also dead. Your Feng family has taken over the country and changed its name to the Phoenix Dynasty. The king is your son, Feng Xiao." This news spread in a few days. What? How is this possible?" Old Master Feng was stunned. He couldn't believe it. Murong Bo was dead in such a short time. Moreover, the Glorious Sun Empire was changed to the Phoenix Dynasty. She became the Feng families. How is this possible? What's impossible? Your granddaughter is not ordinary. He smiled and told him everything he knew in detail. When he reached the part where a powerful cultivator helped them kill a nascent soul cultivator, his expression became a bit strange. Nascent soul stage powerhouses were rare, but the powerhouse who killed a nascent soul stage old monster with a snap of his fingers was even rarer. Such a character was definitely a character from an ordinary country. However, How could such a powerhouse come to an inconspicuous Feng family in a mere ninth-class country? And he even stepped in to protect her? After listening to him, old Master Feng's face was full of shock. His heart was in turmoil. He didn't expect this. He didn't expect this. Dazzling had actually changed to the Phoenix dynasty, and it had even become their Feng clans. The monarch had even become his son. Why? Why did this feel like a dream? Feng Xiao and the Feng girl were too bold, weren't they? I came to tell you after I received the news, lest you keep worrying about what would happen to the Feng family. Now that you've heard the news, you should be relieved, right? He smiled and couldn't help but laugh when he saw the disbelief on old Master Feng's face. Chapter 502. After a long while, old Master Feng regained his senses and muttered, "How can I be at ease? How could it be so easy to control a country? Feng Xiao is just a general. He doesn't know how to scheme at all. Now that he's the king, the surrounding countries will be restless. No, I have to go back. I won't be at ease if I don't go back. Didn't you hear what I said? Your son's strength is now stronger than yours. He's already become a martial emperor. Furthermore, on the night he broke through, a blessing descended from the heavens. His position as the emperor is stable. You don't have to worry about others shaking his position. Furthermore, with that strong cultivator around, the surrounding small countries won't dare to offend your Phoenix dynasty." As Lin Buoheng spoke, he continued, "According to the news, in my opinion, your son and granddaughter aren't as useless as you say. My people told me that the Phoenix dynasty is stable in all aspects, and the surrounding small nations have also sent people over to congratulate you. To be able to stabilize the internal and external situation in such a short period of time, other than your son and granddaughter's ability, it's also because you have many experts protecting you. Didn't you say there were 4 golden core cultivators? 4 golden core cultivators in a rank 9 small country isn't something an ordinary army could defend against. So you can stay here at ease. Don't think about leaving. You heard it too. When Sushi left, she told me not to let you sneak away. As her big brother, I can't let her down. Big brother, can you bear to let me down?" Old Master Feng wanted to cry, but had no tears. He originally wanted to take this opportunity to go back, but who knew that the Phoenix dynasty was stable and didn't need an old man like him to go back and help oversee things. They wanted him to stay here, and there was also that Su Shi. Just thinking about her made his scalp numb. "I'm just an old man. I'm really not worthy of Su Shi. Big brother, please persuade her." He could do whatever he wanted in Yinyue City, but here his strength wasn't enough. Even if he wanted to escape, he couldn't. Thinking about it, he felt anxious. What if Su Shi was afraid that he would sneak away and really force him to go through the wedding ceremony? Just thinking about it made him break out in cold sweat and his hands and feet tremble. I also said that you're just a rotten old man. You look even older than me, but who asked her to be so stubborn? I've already tried to persuade her. Since I can't persuade her, I want to persuade you as her big brother. It's rare for Su Shi to be sincere to you. Just follow her." Speaking of him, even he couldn't help but laugh. Fine. He also felt that these 2 people were strange no matter how he looked at them. They were indeed not compatible. But in this world, he had never heard of any pill or medicine that could restore one's youth. Otherwise, he could help him get it. That way, he would probably feel a little better. Big brother. Old Master Feng was speechless. He really couldn't stand his teasing. This wasn't fun at all. Instead, it was too embarrassing. He really didn't have the face to do that. Since it didn't work here, he would think of another way. He didn't believe that he couldn't sneak out of the Lin clan. Chapter 503. Lin Buoheng had lived for close to 100 years. How could he not know what he was thinking? He only glanced at him and smiled. "Of course. If you want to go out, let Sushi accompany you. You haven't been here for so many years. This place has changed a lot. It's going to take a walk." "Big brother, I'll tell you the truth. Whenever I see Sushi, I just want to hide. I'm really scared of her." Old Master Feng didn't drink tea. Instead, he took a sip from his wine gourd and said, If my son and granddaughter knew about this, where would I put my old face? Hearing this, Lin Buoheng wasn't too happy. His face immediately darkened. What? My sister Sue, she is so unworthy of your attention. She's a disgrace to you? Why don't you think about who made her wait for so many years? You only think about your old face. Why don't you think about how much gossip Sue she has to endure? Why don't you think about how difficult it was for her to achieve this? Big brother, you know that's not what I meant. Old Master Feng sighed. He didn't know what to say anymore. If he continued, it would only make things worse. Lin Buoheng put down his teacup and stood up. You're familiar with this, Lin. Other than not wanting you to leave, the residents didn't restrict your movements. You can go wherever you want to go and see wherever you want to. I've already told them that the people in the residence don't dare to disrespect you. What are you unhappy about? Let's not talk about anything else. We brothers haven't seen each other for so many years. Now that you're in the Lin residence, shouldn't we find a chance to get together for a drink? But look at yourself. You hide in this courtyard all day. I feel embarrassed for you. Moreover, you haven't seen Su Shi for so many years. Can't you have a good chat with her? Ask her how she's been all these years. Think about it carefully. Don't always think about running away. If you do, I'll help Su Shi go to the Phoenix Dynasty to arrest you. After saying this, Lin Buoheng didn't stop. He walked away to let Su Shi think about it carefully. Old Master Feng sighed and sat down in the courtyard to drink wine. The hidden guards in the shadows looked at each other in dismay. They really didn't know why they were so conflicted about such a good thing. A few days later, a spaceship gradually approached the border city of the Yan Kingdom. Feng Jiu did not want to attract too much attention, so he wanted them to get off the spaceship and walk to the city gate. However, Ling Mohan said it was not a big deal, so the spaceship stopped directly outside the city gate. For a third-tier country, spaceships were very common. Unlike the people from a ninth-tier country, they would not surround a spaceship the moment they saw one. However, they were still scrutinized by the people around them. This was because other than the luxurious spaceship, their clothes, appearance, and temperament were all extremely outstanding. It was impossible for them not to attract attention. The people guarding the city gate also thought that they were the children of some noble family. Therefore, when they approached, the person in charge of identity verification made it convenient for them. They did not need to be excluded and could directly come to the front to verify their identity jade tablet. Ling Mohan stood beside Feng Jiu and did not go forward. Only Hui Lang went forward and handed over something. The person guarding the city gate was shocked. After bowing respectfully to them, he quickly opened the city gate to let them in. Chapter 504. What's that thing? How come you can come in without even asking? Feng Jiu, who had just entered the city, turned around and sat on Lao Bai's back. She was dressed in red and riding a white horse, looking very dashing. She was a little curious. At that time, she did not see clearly what Hui Lang had taken out. She only knew that it looked like a jade tablet. What kind of identity jade tablet could make the guards of the border city show such a respectful expression? Naturally, it's something that represents my identity. He glanced at her, who was dazzling and charming as she sat on the horse. He only felt that the red and white horse really suited her, especially when she was dressed in men's clothing. She looked valiant and formidable, but also had an evil and charming aura. The corners of her eyes were slightly raised, and the charm emitted from her eyes seemed to fill the sky. She, who knew that her charm was boundless and could attract both men and women, was sitting on the horse's back at this moment. From time to time, she would throw seductive glances at the young girls on both sides, causing his entire face to darken. This woman, walking around in men's clothing, was indeed like what she had said. She came out to seduce people. His deep gaze swept across the bustling street in front of him and landed on a restaurant about 100 meters away. His voice was low and cold. Let's go over there and sit for a while. Let Hui Lang buy a map of the Yan dynasty. Then we will know where the pharmacist's guild is. Hearing this, Feng Jiu, who was sitting leisurely on Lao Bai's back, blinked her eyes. Just as she was about to respond, she saw something thrown at her. She instinctively caught it, and when she looked down, she was stunned. It was actually a handkerchief with some seasonal fruits wrapped in it. She raised her head and looked around. She saw a few girls on the second floor looking at her shyly with bright eyes. When they saw her looking at them, they even revealed a shy smile at her. Seeing this, her eyebrows raised slightly, and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly, returning a charming smile. After that, she even picked up the handkerchief in her hand that was wrapped with fragrant fruits and sniffed it with an intoxicated expression, causing the women to scream out in excitement. Some of them even crazily wrapped the handkerchief in their hands with some fruits and threw them at her. Suddenly, a shocking scene appeared on the street. The women on the roadside, and even the young women in the shops and tea houses on both sides of the street, used handkerchiefs to wrap cantaloupes and small fruits and threw them to the handsome red-clothed noble young master sitting on the back of the white horse. In order to avoid being hit, Feng could only reach out and catch them one by one. When he opened them, he saw that they were all fruits and the like. Seeing this, his handsome face couldn't help but reveal a little pride. He softly said, "This young master's charm is boundless. There are so many fruits, I don't even need to buy them." With a smile on his face, Lung Hua took out a basket and put the melon seeds into it. The basket was filled with red and green melon seeds. Coupled with the handkerchief, the peddlers and shopkeepers on both sides of the street were surprised and murmured, "Who is that? Where did this handsome, noble young master come from? This group of people seems to have just entered the city, right? More than half of the women in the city have come out. They are really capable." Hui Lang and Ying Yi, who were following beside him, saw this and the corners of their mouths twitched. Then they looked at their master's dark face and his entire body emitting a cold aura. They didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Chapter 505. Finally, they arrived at the restaurant. Feng Jiu handed Lao Bai over to the waiter to tie him up. Little Tun Yun followed him inside. When she turned around to look, she was startled. There were actually dozens of young women behind her, all of them looking at her with adoration in their eyes, causing the smile on her lips to immediately stiffen. "Young master, where did you come from?" "Young master, my family owns an inn. It's right in front. If young master and the others want to stay, I won't charge you." "Young master, my family is a wealthy family in the city. There are a few courtyards that are unoccupied. Would young master like to stay in my residence temporarily?" "Young master." Their questions were filled with eagerness and excitement. They all surrounded her. Feng Nine smiled awkwardly as she was stared at affectionately by all those pairs of eyes. She looked at Ling Mohan for help. Unexpectedly, he snorted coldly and walked in by himself. "Ladies, I appreciate your kind intentions. Please go back." She flashed a smile at them and hurriedly left behind a sentence. Then, she hurriedly entered the restaurant and walked towards the room on the second floor. Hui Lang and the others stopped her. They only turned and followed after Feng Jiu when she went up to the room. Seeing this, the women gradually dispersed, but there were still one or two who were unwilling to leave. They kept looking at the second floor from time to time, hoping that Feng Jiu would come out again so that they could take a look at her. Feng Jiu sat down at the table in the room. She sighed softly. The women in the city are really passionate. She was really frightened. Why did they all chase after her? Didn't you enjoy it? Ling Mohan glanced at her and said coldly, "It's hard to enjoy a beauty's grace. It's not good to have too much of it. I can't digest it." She smiled and poured herself a cup of water. At this moment, Lung Shuang and Lung Hua walked in. He stood guard outside the room. Hui Lang went to buy a map of the Yin Kingdom. "Master, I've washed all the fruits." Lung Hua placed the washed fruits in the basket on the table and retreated to the side. "That's quite a lot." She picked up a fruit and ate it while saying to Lung Shuang and Lung Hua, "Help yourself. There's too much to eat." As she spoke, she casually handed one to Ling Mohan, who was sitting next to her. "Here, it's a gift from my admirer." "No need." He drank the water and lowered his gaze, not looking at her. He didn't take the fruit. Seeing this, Feng Jiu did not insist. After eating 2 fruits, the dishes on the table were almost all served. Because there were not many people, she asked Lung Shuang and Lung Hua to sit down and eat together. She then shouted outside, "Ing Yi, come in and eat together. Let's eat while waiting for Hui Lang." Ing Yi, who was outside, did not dare to go in. Let him eat at the same table as the master. It would be strange if he could eat it. No need, they'll find their own food when they're hungry. Ling Mohan said as he poured the wine and ate with the dishes. Lung Shuang and Lung Hua did not have as many rules as them. Feng Jiu asked them to sit down and eat. They did not stand on ceremony and took whatever they wanted to eat. It was slower than they expected. Hui Lang waited until they were full before coming back. "Master, Ghost Doctor, this is the map of the Yin Kingdom. The address of the Pharmacist Guild is here. I've seen it. If we take the airship, we should be there in half a day." He pointed to a place marked on the map and said, "Okay, then let's go after eating." Chapter 506. Hui Lang Xing also ordered a few dishes. After the two of them had eaten, the group left again. This time, because they had entered the border city of the Yin Kingdom, the airship could be taken out and used directly. Feng Jiu flicked his sleeve, and a luxurious airship appeared. Just as the crowd was exclaiming, the group of people boarded the airship one after another. Lao Bai and the cloud-swallowing beast had already jumped on skillfully and found a place to lie down. "Look, that airship is so luxurious. Those people are really from the aristocracy. Only the aristocracy can afford such a luxurious airship. That red-robed man's temperament is so outstanding. He doesn't look like someone from an ordinary family." "That's true. Look at that group of people. They don't look like people to be trifled with, especially that bearded man. He's so cold." Looking at the group of people leaving in the luxurious airship, some of the women were full of melancholy. That kind of person was too outstanding. They were not from the same world as them. After half a day, they arrived at the town where the Pharmacist Guild was located. They got off the airship at the city gate and went on foot. Perhaps because he was frightened by the women in the border city, Feng Jiu did not dare to sit on Lao Bai's back to pretend to be cool. He only let Lung Hua hold Lao Bai's hand. As for the cloud-swallowing beast, it naturally walked beside them obediently. Its round and snow-white appearance frequently attracted the gazes of some women and children. Feng Jiu saw that it was already evening and the sky was getting dark. He said, "It's getting late. Let's find a place to rest for the night and go tomorrow morning." Ling Mohan responded, indicating that he had no objections. Since the two masters had no objections, the rest naturally had no objections. Therefore, they found it not too far away from the Pharmacist Guild. After allocating the rooms, Ling Mohan wanted to go out with her, who knew that after knocking for a long time, there was no response. It was Hui Lang who came forward and said, "Master, I saw a ghost." He glanced around and paused. He swallowed back the words "Ghost Doctor" and said, "I saw the 9th young master take the two of them shopping." It would have been better if he didn't say that. Once he said that, Ling Mohan's face darkened. He glanced at him coldly and then turned back to the room. Hui Lang touched his nose and looked at Ing, who was guarding the door. He silently asked, "Did I say something wrong again?" Ing glanced at him and then looked away. On the other side, Feng Jiu, who was in an extremely good mood, walked around the streets with Lung Shuang and Lung Hua. "Lung Hua, Lung, it's more lively outside, right?" Lung Hua's eyes sparkled, unable to hide his joy. "And thank you, Master, for bringing me out." In the past, his health was not good, so he could not go out much. Later on, when he followed his master, he spent most of his time in the mansion. This was the first time he came to such a place and saw the prosperity of a big country. She chuckled and looked around the streets aimlessly. However, she kept turning left and right, as if there was a way to go. The two men behind him followed quietly without asking any questions until they came to a place with the words "Black Market" hanging in gold on the door. At this time, the two men realized that their master wanted to go to the black market when he said that he was out for a stroll. Chapter 507. Fengjiu glanced at the two of them and said, "I'm looking for your steward." As he spoke, he handed over a token. When the guard saw the token, his eyes narrowed. He quickly took it with both hands and said respectfully, "Young master, please come in. I'll immediately report to the steward." One of them quickly took the token to report to the steward, while the other brought them in. After handing the token to the person inside, the guard left. The person inside brought them to the main hall of the market and served them tea and pastries. The steward, who was chatting with two middle-aged men in another room, heard the knock on the door. He couldn't help but scold, "Blind thing, don't you know I'm receiving an important guest?" The knocking stopped. The guard hesitated for a moment, but still reported, "Steward, someone came with a black token and wants to see you." Hearing this, the steward inside was slightly surprised. He looked at the other two people. Seeing them nod, he said, "Come in." The guard came in and didn't dare to look around. He only respectfully handed the black token in his hand forward. "Steward, this is the black token of our black market. I didn't dare to be negligent. I've asked someone to bring them to the main hall." The steward took a look and saw that it was the representative of their black market. He couldn't help but be surprised. He handed the black token to the two people sitting at the side and asked at the same time, "Who is this person who came with a black token?" "It's a very handsome young master in red. He's about 15 or 16 years old. He only has two attendants, one male and one female." The guard reported, You can leave first." He waved his hand, indicating for him to leave. "Yes." The guard left and the door closed. At this time, the three people in the room spoke again. "This black token is indeed from our black market. Every black token that is given out will be registered and reported. Moreover, it's not easy for ordinary people to get a black token. How could a young man have such a black token? No matter how he got it, since he came with a black token, I have to meet him." As the steward spoke, he was about to retrieve the black medallion when he saw the middle-aged man move his hand away. The steward looked at him in surprise, not understanding what he meant. "This black token doesn't recognize people." He looked at the steward and suddenly said such a sentence. The steward and the middle-aged man were startled. After a long while, the steward slightly frowned and said, "I'm afraid this is not good. We all work in a black market and should know the rules. Moreover, the young man could get the black token. I'm afraid his identity is not simple. If the higher-ups know, the consequences are not something we can bear. I'll go with you. I also want to know where this young man came from. You actually have a black order?" The middle-aged man stood up, looked at the black token in his hand, and said, "Maybe this black token isn't his." The man next to him wanted to persuade him, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Instead, he stood up together, meaning that he also wanted to see what kind of person this young man was. Knowing their thoughts, the steward sighed and said, "But I still have to remind you that if the young man can come with the black token, he is the most distinguished guest of our black market. You can't mess around." "Mess around? Haha, you think too much." The middle-aged man smiled and made a gesture to let him go first. Chapter 508. When they arrived at the entrance of the great hall and walked in, the gazes of the three people landed on the young man in red robes. Seeing that the young man was extraordinarily handsome, their eyes flashed slightly, and they walked in without batting an eyelid. The young man sitting on the left side of the great hall was wearing a dazzling red robe that was as eye-catching as fire. His delicate and handsome face was even rarer. The aura on his body was only the aura of profound energy, and it was the aura of a martial grandmaster. For such a young man to have the cultivation of a martial grandmaster, it could be seen that he was a disciple of an aristocratic family and had some talent. Looking at the young man again, he did not sit upright like the other disciples of aristocratic families. Instead, his two knees were crossed, and his two legs were lightly crossed. There was a sense of carefreeness in his laziness, and a sense of wanton, unrestrained. Sitting in the great hall, the young man did not have a trace of nervousness or uneasiness. On the contrary, his body emitted a kind of unrestrained and cold aura. It was a kind of unrestrained and unrestrained aura that did not match his seemingly harmless and handsome face. It was this kind of unrestrained and unrestrained aura that made the three people who entered put away their original thoughts. As for the man and woman standing behind him, they were directly ignored by them because their strength was simply not enough to look at. Hee, I've made you wait. The manager collected his thoughts, and a warm smile appeared on his face. He did not care that the other party was only a 15 or 16-year-old youth, and stepped forward to cup his hands in greeting. My surname is Huang, and I'm the manager of this black market. May I know how to address you? From the moment they entered, Fengjiu had sensed that they were sizing her up, but she did not pay them any attention. At this moment, after taking a sip of tea, she raised her eyes to look at them. Her gaze swept past the two people behind Manager Huang and landed directly on Manager Huang. With an indifferent glance, she could tell that he was a cultivator of the golden course stage. The higher the rank of the black market of another country, the higher the strength of the manager. She was not surprised that he had such strength. As for the two people behind him, they were also cultivators of the golden core stage, and their cultivations were in the intermediate stage. However, why did she feel so displeased when one of them looked at her? I wonder if Manager Huang is here to receive a guest, or is he here to see me? She lowered her gaze and asked casually as she held the teacup in one hand and gently scraped the tea with the lid of the teacup with the other. Hearing this, Steward Huang's eyes flickered. He smiled and said, Haha, I haven't introduced them to you yet. These two are the deacons of the Great Yin Black Market. They are here to discuss some matters with me. Coincidentally, they heard that someone brought the black token here. Out of curiosity, they came along. I hope you don't mind. Oh, so you're also from the black market. Only then did she nod her head. She put down her teacup and stood up. Her gaze fell on the two people as she said, I have something to discuss with Manager Huang. Should the two of you leave for a moment? Actually, I also happen to have something to discuss with young master, and would like to take up some of young master's time, the middle-aged man said, his gaze falling on Fengjiu. He had no intention of avoiding him. Hearing this, Fengjiu raised her eyebrows and looked at the middle-aged man who had looked at her from the moment he came in. She brushed her robe and sat back on the chair again. Leaning against the back of the chair, she asked with some interest, What do you want to talk to me about? Tell me about it. I wonder if this black token belongs to young master or your father. Or your father's? The middle-aged man asked directly. Chapter 509. If it's yours, young master, I would like to discuss with young master and borrow young master's black token. Of course, I won't let young master suffer any losses. So long as young master names a price, I can rent it at high price. Perhaps because he saw that Fengjiu was young, the middle-aged man actually spoke such words. As soon as he spoke, the person beside him and Manager Huang couldn't help but glance at him. Their lips moved, but they didn't say anything. Instead, their gazes fell on the young man in red. However, Fengjiu smiled when he heard this. He didn't answer the middle-aged man. Instead, he looked at Manager Huang and asked curiously, Can the black market's black tokens be rented out like this? Manager Huang smiled awkwardly. He glanced at the middle-aged man and then said to Fengjiu, Young master, the black market doesn't have such an example. As soon as he finished speaking, he said to the middle-aged man, You should go to the private room and wait for me. However, the middle-aged man slightly frowned. He glanced at Manager Huang and said, This matter is not impossible. As long as this young master agrees, it will become a private transaction. Moreover, I don't need a long time. 1 month is enough. Although they were black market's attendants, they generally carried out business outside. Their positions were different from those of the black market's attendants. If they had the convenience to obtain the black market's black tokens, he wouldn't have seized the opportunity before him. Actually, in his opinion, although the young man in red had an outstanding temperament, he was young and inexperienced. If he gave him enough benefits, he wasn't afraid that the young man wouldn't agree to this transaction. When she saw that the middle-aged man still didn't give up and wanted her black token, she curled her lips and looked at Manager Huang. Where's my black token? When he heard this, Manager Huang recalled that the black token was still in the hands of the middle-aged attendant. He hurriedly said, "Brother Su, quickly return the black token to this young master. Old Su, return the black token to this young master. We can think of another way." The middle-aged man at the side said. After all, he knew that renting the black token wasn't appropriate. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, the middle-aged man, surnamed Su, glanced at Fengjiu and paused for a moment. He then took out a black token from his sleeve and handed it to Fengjiu, saying, "This is the young master's black token. Please keep it well." Fengjiu glanced at the middle-aged man who had been staring at her face. She smiled and took the black token. However, when she took it, her eyes couldn't help but move slightly. She looked at the black token in her hand, raised her eyebrows, and asked with a faint smile, "This is my black token?" Once those words were spoken, the expressions of the three people changed, especially Manager Huang. He quickly took it and looked at it. When he did, he could not help but be slightly stunned. He looked at the middle-aged man with the surname Su, who had a tense expression. "Brother Su, the middle-aged man at the side frowned as well when he saw this. He glanced at the middle-aged man with the surname Su before glancing at the black command token in Manager Huang's hand, and he seemed to be lost in thought. "Young master, what do you mean? This isn't your black token. Could it be that it's fake?" The middle-aged man's face turned gloomy. The pressure of a golden core cultivator emanated from his body and enveloped Fengjiu. When she felt the pressure, Lung Shuang's already icy cold face became even colder. She glanced at her younger brother and saw that he was forcefully enduring the pressure without moving. However, his forehead was covered in cold sweat. When she saw this, she glanced at the middle-aged man. Chapter 510. However, contrary to everyone's expectations, Fengjiu did not fly into a rage, nor did she attack. Instead, she revealed a strange smile and took the black token from Manager Huang's hand. She looked at it and said, "Yes, look carefully. It seems to be mine. That's right, this is a black token. Who would dare to fake it?" She smiled and stood up. Under the slightly surprised gazes of the others, she looked at Steward Huang and said, "Steward Huang, do you have time now? I have something I need your help with." "Young master, that black token." Manager Huang was stunned. He wanted to speak, but was interrupted by Fengjiu. "Since you've seen the black token, it's fine." As she spoke, she looked at the two people at the side. "I say, shouldn't you two leave first? Since that's the case, we'll take our leave first." The middle-aged man with the surname Su said and walked out without waiting for Manager Huang to say anything. When the other middle-aged man saw this, he paused for a moment and also cupped his hands. His gaze paused on Fengjiu before he turned and left. Seeing the two people leave, Manager Huang opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. After a while, he turned his head and looked at Fengjiu. He sighed and didn't know what to say. He could only ask, "Young master, what is it that you need the black market's help with?" A real black token was actually replaced with a fake one after a trip to the black market. This was the first time he encountered such a thing. Moreover, he actually carried a fake black token with him. If he didn't report this matter, he was afraid that it would cause trouble in the future. Also, was this young man really stupid, or was he pretending to be stupid? Was he just going to watch his black token being traded away? He clearly saw that it was not the original one, but he still smiled and accepted it. Could it be that he was frightened by his aura? He couldn't help but look at the young man with a smile on his face. He was puzzled. Fengjiu toyed with the black token in her hand. Her slightly curved lips had a strange smile that no one could guess. A calculating light flashed through her half-closed eyes. She was as cunning as a fox. How could she really suffer such a loss? "Steward Huang, I'm here to ask you to investigate a person for me." She smiled and looked at the steward, who was worried. "May I know who young master wants to investigate?" With the power of the black market, not to mention investigating a person, it would not be a problem to investigate an entire clan. A woman called Su Shi. "I want to know where her family is, as well as everything related to her and her recent movements." When he heard this, Steward Huang's first thought was that this young man couldn't have stolen his father's black token to chase after the young lady, right? Thinking of the fake black token, he had a headache and said, "Young master, do you have a portrait of the girl you're looking for?" Or what was his last name? No matter how powerful the black market is, it won't be easy to find just a name. A portrait. She had a strange expression on her face. She didn't know how many years her grandfather had kept that painting of a beauty. The woman in the painting was probably about the same age as her grandfather now. It was useless even if she had seen the painting when she was young. Chapter 511. Hearing this, Manager Huang nodded. That's even better. Thus, he got someone to prepare a brush, ink, and paper for Fengjiu to draw the person. After a long while, Fengjiu handed the portrait to him and said, "I'll be staying here for a while. Yes, I'll be staying at the Five Blessings Inn. If there's any news, send it there. Hurry up with this matter. I'll be waiting for it." "All right, I'll get someone to investigate right away." Manager Huang responded and walked out of the hall with the portrait. After instructing his subordinates, he handed the portrait to an old man and walked back into the hall. He looked at Fengjiu, who was sitting there and playing with the fake black token in his hand, and sighed inwardly. Just as he was about to speak, he was so frightened by the scene in front of him that his eyes widened. He saw that the young man had crushed the black token with one hand, and it directly turned into ashes that scattered all over the ground. Seeing this and his actions, Manager Huang immediately broke out in a cold sweat. He kept muttering in his heart, "It's over, it's over." He felt that this young man was not someone to be trifled with. Although that black token was fake, it was not made of ordinary materials. But now, it was directly crushed into powder by this young man. Fengjiu blew away the powder on his hands and took the wet cloth from Lung Hua to wipe his hands. Only then did he look at Manager Huang, whose eyes were wide with shock, and said with a smile, "Manager Huang, there's one more thing you have to report." "WHWH, what is it?" Manager Huang looked at the young man's fake smile and even stuttered a little when he spoke. Who could tell him what was going on with this young man, whose aura had suddenly changed? What was going on with this young man who was exuding a powerful and intimidating aura? Just now, he was actually wondering if this young man had been frightened by Old Sue's Golden Core aura. But now, looking at the aura and pressure emanating from his body, his legs were actually trembling. How terrifying. What a strange young man. Where did he come from? Actually, it's not a big deal. It's just that my black token was stolen. You can report it. Get someone to help me look for it. Steward Huang was dumbfounded. This young man turned around and did such a thing. Could it be that he had been waiting here for a long time? Hearing the carelessness in his voice, he couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat off his forehead. "Young master, this matter." He wanted to say that all the black tokens in the black market were the same. If you lost it, there was no evidence. Other than reporting the loss, it wouldn't be easy to find the original one. Unexpectedly, before she could say anything, she heard the young man's voice again. "By the way, I seem to have forgotten to tell you that apart from me, no one else can use my black token." "Well, what?" Steward Huang cried out in shock, and his face instantly turned pale. Initially, only his legs were trembling, but now his entire body was trembling. Beads of cold sweat dripped down from his forehead. He looked in shock and horror at the young man, who was smiling innocently in front of him. He could only feel his teeth chattering. That black token, if that black token was really as the young man in front of him said, that apart from him, no one else could use it, then that was a level 1 black token. However, he had only seen that it was a black token earlier and didn't notice that there was a level 1 mark on the black token. But now, looking at the young man's expression and hearing his tone, it was clearly a level 1 black token. A level 1 black token, with blood as the pattern. On that token, only the owner of the black token could activate the blood pattern. Chapter 512. Fengjiu was suddenly in a good mood when she saw how frightened Steward Huang was. She chuckled and teased, "It's a little expensive, but would you believe me if I said my surname is Ghost? Forget it. I won't talk to you about this anymore. Go and invite your president over. I'll talk to him." She seemed to have only used the two words ghost doctor when she registered. Actually, when she first received this black token, it was indeed just an ordinary black token, a black token that could allow the black market to treat her as a VIP. However, after she came into contact with President Ku of the Qing Tang Kingdom's black market, he knew that she had a black token and said that he helped her apply for a first-class black token, saying that she would have more privileges and better treatment. However, she didn't pay much attention to it. After all, it was just a token and she didn't really care about it. She didn't expect to encounter such a problem here. She originally thought that it would be enough to leave the investigation to the black market's steward and didn't want to alert the black market's president. However, she didn't expect that someone would have designs on her black token. Who dared to snatch something from her? How interesting. Steward Huang's face turned pale. He was the black market steward, and he was usually in charge of the black market's affairs. However, he was the one who was in charge of the black market. The person above him was the president. If he knew about this, he really didn't dare to imagine what the consequences would be. However, the young man in front of him had already revealed his identity as a first-class black token holder. Even if he was the black market steward, he didn't have the right to receive him. Thinking of this, he swallowed his saliva and said in a trembling voice, Young master, please have a seat. I'll immediately send someone to invite the president." The black market's president usually didn't come out to manage matters because they spent most of their time cultivating. Unless there was something serious that the steward couldn't handle, they would only come out. However, in this case, only the president could come out. He didn't dare to send someone to invite the president. Instead, he went to invite the president personally. He hurried to the president's independent courtyard where he cultivated. He stood guard outside the courtyard and let the guard pass on an urgent matter. Not long after, a man in a gray robe who looked to be about 50 years old walked out. This person was the president of the Dian's black market, a nascent soul cultivator who exuded the aura of a powerful cultivator. "What's going on?" His face was solemn as he glanced at Manager Huang. His voice was dignified and carried the pressure of an expert. The moment he opened his mouth, it caused one's heart to tremble slightly. Upon seeing him, Manager Huang's legs trembled and he immediately knelt down with a plop. He said in a panic, "President, I am in big trouble. President, please save me." Hearing this, his frown deepened, but he didn't let him get up. Instead, he asked, "Tell me clearly." Therefore, Steward Huang did not dare to hide anything and told him about how the two men came to look for him and how the red-clothed youth had exchanged a black order with him. At this point, he had a long face and his face was filled with panic. I really didn't know that the Black Order was a level 1 Black Order. Things like level 1 Black Order are extremely rare, and I never thought that it would appear in the Great Yin Dynasty. Moreover, the person who owned it was a youth. A red-clothed youth? After hearing Steward Huang's description, a hint of surprise appeared in the president's eyes. It was as if he had thought of something. His expression became a little excited as he hurriedly asked, "Where is that young man now?" Chapter 513. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew in. Fengjiu, who was sitting in the main hall drinking tea, looked up and saw a man in gray robes around 50 years old standing in front of her. Without waiting for her to speak, the other party glanced at her and laughed loudly, cupping his hands in greeting. I didn't know that the ghost doctor had come from afar. If there is anything that I have neglected, I hope that the ghost doctor will not blame me. Hearing this, Fengjiu raised her eyebrows. "You are the president here?" He actually knew her identity with one look. He wasn't simple. My surname is Ke. The ghost doctor can call me Elder Ke." He couldn't hide the joy on his face and sat down on the main seat. "Ke." Fengjiu's expression changed slightly, asking, "Could it be that you are from the same family as Qing Tang Kingdom's president, Ke?" Hearing this, he nodded and smiled. "The ghost doctor is wise. You guessed it right with one sentence. He is my clan brother. I heard him mention the ghost doctor before. That's how I knew. I didn't think that the ghost doctor would suddenly come to the Yin Kingdom. It really is a surprise. Hearing that he was from the same family as Qing Tong Kingdom's President Ku, Fengjiu was relieved. No wonder he could recognize her with one look. Since he knew her identity, she didn't beat around the bush. She glanced at Manager Huang, who was standing by the door and didn't dare to come in, and spoke directly. Since that's the case, President Ku, I hope that you can give me an explanation for today's matter. Ghost Doctor, don't worry. I already know about this matter and will deal with it strictly. The Ghost Doctor's level 1 black order can't be used by that Su fellow. As long as I give the order, in less than a day, he will definitely return the black order. He gave his guarantee, and, at the same time, he shouted at Manager Huang, who was standing by the door. Get in here. Manager Huang's face was pale. He only heard the president call that young man the Ghost Doctor. He only knew that the president was very surprised when he saw this young man, and his attitude changed 136 degrees. The more it was like this, the more his heart trembled. He entered the main hall and knelt down with a thud. Forgive me. Forgive me. Fengjiu didn't speak and only looked at President Ku, meaning that he would do as he saw fit, deceiving your superiors and your subordinates, and you don't even have the slightest bit of discipline. You've reached the end of your career as a manager. From today onwards, you'll be sent to the dark prison to reflect on your misdeeds for 10 years. Chairman Ku shouted. With a wave of his hand, his robes fluttered and a gust of wind blew him away. Man! 2 black figures appeared in the hall in a flash. They bowed respectfully and lowered their heads to await the order. Pass down the order. Check every single one of the joints. If you see a cultivator surnamed Su with a grade 1 black token, capture him and bring him back. Once the order was given, the 2 of them respectfully responded and instantly disappeared. Only then did Chairman Ku look at the red-clothed Fengjiu, saying, I heard that the Ghost Doctor is currently staying at the 5 Blessings Inn. How could staying in it be more comfortable than staying in the black market? Why don't the Ghost Doctor move into the black market? There are plenty of empty courtyards in the black market. It's quiet and comfortable to stay here. It'll also allow this Ku to play the role of a host and properly entertain the Ghost Doctor. No need. It's more convenient to stay in an inn. She waved her hand and stood up, saying, I've already wasted quite a bit of time here. It's already quite late, so I'll take my leave first. Hearing that, Chairman Ku hurriedly stood up to send her off, saying, I'll send the Ghost Doctor off. That's right, Ghost Doctor, don't worry. I'll get them to speed up the investigation. We must satisfy the Ghost Doctor in the shortest time possible. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.